I never hate my race, but until recently I didn't know history class was jacked completely. Found my new family with the team going free. My old family doesn't understand me, cause I am so pro-white. No coke, no Sprite, I am rolling with the bubbly, gonna be more white. I saw them twist history right before my very eyes. Insurrection day, it's in the book and it's all lies. But now I am alive and well to tell it. But will generations down the line be able to sell it? I've always been a thinker on the search for both sides, but they label me an outcast and they cannot tell me why. Guess I'm just a black sheep, white boy who doesn't hesitate to make a lot of fucking noise. I'm the black sheep, white boy, and I wouldn't change a thing if I ever had the choice. Cause the red's the color I bleed. Yes, we all do bleed red. I have to protect my family. Why does affirmative action make them not hire me? Even in the countries where I'm the minority. Is my rage just that awesome and no other could compete? Is that what the anti-whites are trying to tell me? Why am I always seen as such a threat? To the point they wanna strip me down till there's nothing left. Old friends from high school, man, I haven't kept one, but I got a new crew and it's where I belong. Cause if you ain't going free, you ain't rolling with me. And there are even anti-whites in my own family. But I am the one who's comfortable with myself. I try to save them from the hate so wildly raising hell. Cause I'm the black sheep, white boy who doesn't hesitate to make a lot of fucking noise. I'm the black sheep, white boy, and I wouldn't change a thing if I ever had the choice. Cause the red's the color I bleed. Yes, we all do bleed red. I have to protect my family. That Scotland is too white, is Nigeria too black? Don't get your panties in a bunch, cause I have the right to ask. See, I'm the black sheep, cause I call it hypocrisy. And the media will give you emotions, but they will not give you honesty. Yeah, you have your feelings, but I have the crime rate. And I'ma shoot to kill if there's a danger my way. So I do not blame the cops, just the ones who are cowards, who hesitate to pull the trigger unless it is one of ours. Cause he's a black sheep, white boy who doesn't hesitate to make a lot of fucking noise. I'm the black sheep, white boy, and I wouldn't change a thing if I ever had the choice. Cause the red's the color I bleed. Yes, we all do bleed red. I have to protect my family. So I put my people to death.
And we are rolling in. I hope everybody is doing okay. It's great to see you all on this Tuesday night on the East Coast of the United States, outside of Mordor on the Potomac, DC, just right behind me. Wonderful to see 0022 Art Acrobats. There's Lunder from Down Under, Northern Dawn, Scythian King. Great to see you all. There's the great Elaine Sabatino. What is that? Marluxia? Hyperborean Jim. Ivan is here again. Cindy Ben, great to see you. Biospiritual Tastes. I love that name. Great. There's the great Donning Armor. Numerical Courage, which is what we have here. TS is here. Stephanie Love. DL. Great to see you. Doug is here. Pearl Lady. Welcome, welcome to you. Nature Moon. Who am I missing? Victorian Time Traveler is with us. The champions have shown up. The Horror Experiment as well is here. Is my mic right? Is it the good one? Does it sound good? RBN, High Speed Drifter. Do you feel yourself, if you are a man, do you feel yourself preparing for battle when you hear my voice? Do you feel yourself moments away from that final second when you grasp a glory from the jaws of defeat? Do you feel that? And if you're a woman, do you feel yourself swooning? If those things are happening, then the correct mic is chosen, because it is coming close to picking up what normally comes through these two lips of mine, which so many in the explicit white sympathetic sphere can't get enough of complaining about, because I have a pair of lips unlike them. What da is here? Great to see you. The great Franklin is here. And Franklin made a great point early before we began here, and that is that you have this video that I'm going to be reviewing in just a moment. We're going to get started pretty quickly, unless you all have something very interesting. Has the United States gone to war again? What's happening around the world that I may have missed over the past? I've been editing the audio book that I'm working on for you all, and we'll be listening to this Charlie Cheon. His video, we'll be reviewing it. This thing has gone mega viral in just a couple of days, over 1 million views. Truly remarkable. And I think, I could be wrong, perhaps somebody will fill me in if I am mixing up his channel with someone else's. But when this video was first released, when he first released it, I believe it was his channel. Again, I could be wrong. And I went over to it and I thought there were like 200 subs, or maybe even less. Well, now there are over 40,000. And it's a remarkable thing. Just kind of overnight, he makes this video. And you know how white folks are. You know how us white folks are. Because of the anti-white narrative, because of what we're taught over the course of our lives, we are not able to hold opinions that are valid. So white people don't look to other white people for valid opinions, for a person who shares their views as the defense of their views. They've got to get it from a non-white person, because in the anti-white narrative, white people's opinions are irrelevant, and they're tainted by the fact that they're held by white people, particularly handsome, fit, phenotypical magnificence. No, it can't come from them. It's got to come from non-white people for it to become valid. And that's fine when we have wonderful people like Charlie here, who wants to step up and tell the world about what's really going on. Unfortunately, there aren't many Charlies out there. And in fact, Charlie wasn't Charlie earlier in his life, according to his video, which I saved the majority of it. I jumped around just to make sure something weird didn't happen in it. I took the advice from others, said, oh no, it's a good video, check it out. But I wanted to save it for our conversation so that we could talk about it together and we could see exactly what's in there. But the great Franklin, earlier before the stream started, said, if you haven't already and you feel positive about the Go Free method, you've seen the success that it's brought to people's lives, share those opinions over in the thread under this viral video. Imagine if you had gotten there early. Imagine with our Love, Hope, and Redemption, and you would have 1 million. It's going to be the vast majority of the people watching are going to be white people. And looking at the comments, white, implicit, white sympathetic folks. And imagine if they had learned about the Go Free method of love, hope, and redemption for Western kind, of our own story, our own concepts, by way of this. Their weakness, the weakness of the white race, to not find any validation in our views if it comes from a white person, with the exception of somebody like a Donald Trump or something like this, but otherwise just not interested. So let's see what you all are saying. Have you been over there? And if you haven't, you might want to think about heading over at some point, leaving a comment about the Go Free method. If you feel of your own volition that you want to do this, definitely don't do it because I'm suggesting it, because I'm sure that's against some sort of rules. And whatever you do, no harassing this Charlie, whether you like what he said or don't like what he has to say. Do not harass him at any point. Elaine says, looking forward to your take on Charlie's video. I've made a few comments and replies about going free too. See, Elaine is one of these superhuman champions, one of these real warrior in the modern era, is the folks who get out into the battlefield where they exist, and that is the dinner table. That is in these threads. That is, and it's not going to be in some machine gun or machine gun nest out in the forest somewhere, and you're just waiting. All those people are cowards. They're too afraid to say what has to be said, and even more so, the things they want to share, they have good reason to be afraid of saying those things in the public. But we have love that we want to share. We have redemption that we want to share, and we do share. So God bless you, Elaine. Have you all, the guys out there who think they're tough and they're great and they're in this, they're in the fight, have you all done as much as Elaine Sabatino? Because if not, then you really need to look at yourself in the mirror and you need to say, what's wrong with me? I view myself as this great champ. Why am I not doing this? The great Franklin is out there. Art Acrobats is here with a koala bear. Over a week ago, I made a comment on Charlie's YouTube about you and your books, writes Doug Anderson. Fantastic, man. A big salute to everybody who saw the opportunity and immediately thought, I want my brothers and sisters and good people of all immutable characteristics to find out about Jason Kuna and Go Free and how we're changing the world. Have we already changed the world? You all need to take credit for that. Have that buoy you, have that boost you as you go out into these contests. That anti-white and anti-whitism and increasingly anti-white narrative and a little bit lesser, but increasingly Western kind being used all over Western civilization because of us, period, into conversation, because of us. Thank you, good sir. Let's see. And remember, folks, tag me over the course of this video with No White Guilt. I just saw by chance that Doug had written my first name there, Jason. Normally, I don't see it because there's a conspiracy, as you all know, in monitors and printers to make everything look blurry for me. And I end up missing these things. But when it's orange on my screen, I do see it. We're up on all of the regular platforms, including Entropy. Over there on D Live, a big hello to everybody on D Live. Over there on Odyssey, a big hello to everybody on Odyssey. You can financially gift, as you always can, on those two platforms, on Entropy as well, and on Cash App. The links for all of those are below. If you would like to financially gift in a cryptocurrency, you can do so on Cash App, or you can head on over to nowhiteguilt.org. Click on the financial gift tab. You'll see the wallets we use, and that currency helps still as well. We have vintage. What is this? Oh, Vinter Magic. Just put my coworkers onto No White Guilt. Totally safe concept. God bless you for that testimonial. God bless you for that. Echo what this person did. Magnify the signal, what this champ did. Vinter Magic. Testimonial here. Just put my coworkers onto No White Guilt. Totally safe concept. It is a totally safe concept. We have wonderful teachers here in Canada, of all places, that can say the concepts from Going Free, that can talk about me, and they say, okay, yeah, that's good. You say other things, not so much. You say these other things that we left behind and in the past with these folks who just want to stay wrong and stay evil, not so much. You're going to get fired. Your life will be ruined. You must share this. You must share me. We'll talk a little bit about that and some other things at the end of this review. I'm going to address some of the two big challenges that we've had coming up at the end of 2022, and how this community has triumphed over the challenges, these two challenges, in a way that no other community that I know of over 3 decades of service to white well-being in the white sympathetic sphere has done. No other time like this. It's a really amazing thing, and this community should be very proud of our tenacity, our resiliency, our intelligence, and our love for all, for everyone, dignity for everyone, including Western kind. So thank you so much for that, Vinter Magic. Let me go ahead and I'm going to throw this up onto the screen. Let's see. Add to the stream. Yes. There we go. So there he is. Oh, it looks like it's paused at not a very handsome place for him. Can I change? Okay. I did not do that on purpose. That's how YouTube is. You know, you stop me anywhere on a video and it's not a pretty sight. For some reason, when I'm in motion, oh, it's good. It's real good. Especially when I'm long motion. It's really good. But pause somewhere strange, except for maybe where I'm smiling. But other than that, it gets weird. So he's not alone. Masumik and Axis Mundi. Great to see you, brother. And we have Art Acrobats. Have we even done as much as Charlie? Have we even done as much as Charlie? We've done a lot more because we have seeded concepts. In fact, we have seeded the concept, the two words of the concept, anti-white and anti-whitism, that overturns the concept that defeated Western civilization, which is racist. So anti-white, anti-whitism. I have been pushing this since 94, and you wonderful champions have answered the silver trumpets. You have circled round, and you all have worked tirelessly for no pay to put this into public use, and it worked exactly as I articulated in, it seems like 10,000 conversations since 94. Exactly as I saw that it would work, and the anti-whites have taken it up. That is exactly as I said they would. The sign that they were taking it up, exactly as I said to all these old timers. In fact, I was on the phone with one just the other day, talking about, last night, talking about this whole divorce and everything like that. Told them that you would begin seeing things like anti-black and etc. And that's exactly what has happened. It's working exactly as I have geniusly said it would. And that is why geniuses have been drawn to it. That's why we have so many brilliant people in this community. But Masumi Rabbit is here. But maybe to your point, if we are able to get Charlie to use the concepts, at least a couple of them, some of them, from Go Free, the good that he could do will be unreal. Now, I doubt, and it's the good that he could do for all people, because the great evil of this age, and if Charlie's watching, I tagged him, the great evil of this age is anti-whitism. It uses the excuse of revenge against the white race to undermine all of our liberties for everyone, all of our freedoms for everyone. And so by defeating anti-whitism, we improve this country and all countries across the West for everyone who lives in them. All right. Is there anything else? Franklin, you know that there is some asshole demanding Charlie name them right on his pinned comment. These antisocial white negative morons are a cancer. They are a cancer. And in fact, there's the great Yiz the Unifier is with us. I knew by the glare that the burnished armor of Yiz the Unifier had just entered the room. Wonderful to see you, good sister. There's Jody. Wonderful to see you. Hey, if you're over there and you see one of these antisocial fixators that just want to bring negative attention to Jewish people, get right in that comment if you feel so inspired, and tell Charlie to ignore this scum. These people don't have identities of their own. They're like walking dead. They live to hate Jewish people. They live to bring negative attention to Jewish people. They have nothing of value to provide. They don't just play the villain in the anti-white narrative. They are the villain in the anti-white narrative. They do not represent white people. They do not care about white people. In fact, look at what they've done to me and this community. Endless attacks on me and this community. We talk a tiny bit more about that at the end. But it's been endless attacks on me and this community by those people. Why? Because we put the well-being, white well-being of white people as our objective. We hold that as our objective. And that's not an objective they want. They want the victimization of all Jewish people. So it's just a reality. So they empower their existence, the things that they do, make the anti-white oligarchs stronger. It enables them to stay in power longer. It enables them to control our destiny forever. That's what these people do, because they make real in the world the villain in their fiction. And that's not what we are. So make sure Charlie knows. Charlie, don't ever fall for that evil. Don't ever fall for the evil of fixating on Jewish people and claiming that, well, if you could just get rid of all Jewish people, all the ones who may have done something illegal or awful, and all the innocent Jewish people as well, that somehow things are going to be better. That's not the opposite of anti-whitism. The opposite of anti-whitism is us. Axis Mooney says, I left a comment asking if Charlie had heard about Go Free. There is another video where he talked about anti-Asian sentiment, where I dropped some Go Free dialectic as well. Magnificent, good brother. Grumpy Cat is here. Prometheus, wonderful to see you. Arden Party, wonderful to see you. Paul Revere, awesome to see you. All right, let's go ahead and get started, and we'll see. We'll give my 2 cents. Now, what kind of 2 cents would you get from the fixators? Well, it's just, they would say, oh, it's all jaywalkers. His life is bad because of jaywalkers. My life is bad because of jaywalkers. And if we can just all join together to kill off all the jaywalkers, that's what they would say. So there, you have their interpretation. You don't have to listen to any of their videos now. You don't have to listen. That's what it is. You know that's what it is. You know it. You know it. Okay? So now let's hear something that brings people together of all backgrounds against that thing, which is destroying the white race. We'll come together, me and Charlie and all of you will come together for white well-being, put an end to the great evil of this age, and by doing so, benefit everyone of all immutable characteristics. How does that sound? Let's see what Charlie has to say.
Let's talk about what we're doing to white people. There's been something going on for a while now that we're being told not to notice.
All right, real quick. Are you all able to hear that okay? I don't think I can do anything to make it louder for y'all, but let me know if y'all can hear that okay. And yes, for you all who are new here or watching in replay, and a big hello to everybody who's watching in replay, this is a mug with a picture of me drinking out of a mug, with a picture of me on that mug, with a flag in the background of me drinking out of a mug, with a picture of me drinking on the mug, because we're meta here. And I am arrogant as all hell. Everything tastes better out of Jason. Elaine says, it sounds great. Audio is a little low, but I can turn up the laptop volume. Just don't rant suddenly. I don't feel like there's a big rant coming on. I feel like we're hanging out. We're having a good time.
More to the point, that we're asking white people not only to ignore, but to accept the rising tide of racial hatred against white people.
Well, that's awesome. Rising tide, it's long before this young Charlie. Charlie looks like a young man. It's older, of course, than he is. But his perception of everything is going to be his lifetime. So keep that in mind.
In the past decade, there has been a noticeable cultural shift in what constitutes acceptable speech as it relates to white people. Back when I was a kid,
well, here it goes. Let me just jump back.
Of racial hatred against white people. In the past decade, there has been a noticeable cultural shift in what constitutes acceptable speech as it relates to white people. Back when I was a kid, in the early 2000s, the mainstream American culture preached about respecting each other's differences and not seeing color.
Let me just jump in. There hasn't been a shift since the 2000s. As far as in the 2000s, they didn't want you to see color. They didn't want you to see race. Remember, never trivialize race. Race is deeper than skin deep. But this "we don't see color" is a meme pathogen that's given to younger people. It's like a gateway drug. So you could still find this meme pathogen, but anti-whitism works incrementally. So over time, it has a meme pathogen like this. This is an anti-white idea. An anti-white idea. Kate agrees with my previous statement about everything tasting better out of me. It delivers a meme pathogen, an anti-white idea concept, something that's corrosive to white people and to our projections, which can be this government, which law and order, etc., right? So once that takes root and enough people have accepted and adopted that, it doesn't instantly cease to exist. It continues. So that's why that meme pathogen, which was much more useful many decades ago, is still around and still being employed. This is human dynamism at work. So it's just important to understand that the change in conversation is not something that is sort of a recent thing, which could imply that it's going to be short-lived and there'll be these vicissitudes. When in reality, this is the pressure of anti-whitism applied to us, to the country, to the West, consistently, that's getting worse and worse.
Nowadays, we say that not seeing color is racism, that you must see color. But the more I see how things are unfolding, the more I'm convinced that this is wrong. Back then, saying something offhanded about white people were seen as not appropriate, just as it would be to say something offhanded about people of any other race. But that soon gave way to our current times, in which there exists virtually no limit to what racial minorities can and do say about white people. I
Well,
believe
so that's very impressive and very courageous. Don't overlook the fact that Charlie is showing an extreme amount of courage to break with the anti-white cult. He is a non-white person. He could just reap the rewards of anti-whitism for his whole life. He could just take the advantages that are given to him as a non-white person in Western civilization his whole life. And that could mean sexually, financially, your prestige with jobs, etc. He could just take advantage of all of that. And instead, he's saying, you know what, I'm going to speak out against this. I'm guessing because he sees it. And Charlie, if you're listening, if you'd ever like to come on the show with me and have a conversation about this, let's do it. Reach out to somebody who's obviously like here, and they could get in contact with me. But he's saying, I'm guessing that he's just noticing that this is, maybe not just noticing, but that this is immoral. To do this to white people is immoral. And he wants to speak out against it because he can see that it is immoral. He can see these double standards, these superficial double standards. But the courage that he has to exhibit here is based in his awareness of what, his obvious awareness, because he's speaking and thinking. He would have to be like drooling and staring into space to not be able to understand that anti-whites crush you. They treat you like a white person if you speak out against anti-whitism. So it takes a lot of courage for him to do this, and I salute him for that. He says volume, Archangel says the volume for Charlie is quite low. Wonder how I could remedy that. Because he's turned all the way up. Maybe if I dial me back, you could turn us both up. Let's see. I All right. How's my volume now? Am I a little bit quieter so you can turn me up and then he'll be louder? Let me know. Let's roll though.
Believe this is the natural outgrowth of a perverse ideology that teaches us that every societal ill, is the fault of white people, and that what
Amen. Exactly. That's exactly what it teaches. That's exactly what everybody can tell. Everybody can see that he's saying what's obvious. And think about this, it's a revolutionary act for him to say what is obvious. And that is the power of anti-whitism. The great No White Guilt Clips is here. Thank you. Says sounds good. Okay.
whatever prejudice acts we may inflict upon them does not constitute discrimination because we don't have the power to discriminate.
Okay, that is, I mean, I'm sorry, I got to stop. The power to discriminate. This is a meme pathogen the anti-whites use all the time. What they do is they anthropomorphize a race. And it works because the vast majority of people are at either midwits or uber midwits. And uber midwits, like 100 plus to 120 IQ, they still don't understand that you can't anthropomorphize and then ask proper questions to get to proper answers or conclusions. So they anthropomorphize an entire race of people. That's what they do with the white race here. They anthropomorphize them. Are there white people with power? Well, sure, I guess. How are we going to define power? And if there are white people with power, then anywhere you can make this anthropomorphic claim, anthropomorphizing the white race as a single entity, a single brain, a single person. If there's any white person that has power, then they are the only ones who can discriminate. They are the only ones who can be this anti-white term, of course, concept racist that we don't use. They do the same thing to non-white people at the same time there. This is another mental trick that they play on you. Hardcore. Anti-whitism is hardcore psychological warfare. And going free is the psychological defense that defeats it. They anthropomorphize all non-white people. It's just one person. Are there any non-white people out there that are poor? Well, sure. And so therefore, how much power does that non-white person on a street corner have that lives in a cardboard box or in a van down by the river? Not much. So this is just a mental trick to get you to capitulate to an anti-white outcome, to the victimization of white people. You reject this MP on its face. You don't get into a debate about how many people who are white have power and how many white people are poor versus non-white people are poor. You're never going to win those. You're inside the anti-white narrative where fiction is reality and reality is ignored. So you got to be smart about this. You definitely don't start acting like a fixator and say, well, let me tell you the group that's really in charge. All right.
And alarmingly, this is particularly pronounced in the younger generation. But is it true? Do we not have the power to discriminate? Well, let's see. First, let's take a look at the racial hatred at the interpersonal level. In today's society, it has become somewhat fashionable to think things and say things about and to white people that would not be acceptable if it was said about any other race. And we're being taught that this double standard is not wrong, that it is rather a form of empowerment. They'll attribute negative experiences that they've had with white people to their whiteness. You had an argument in life.
Oh, we have to teach Charlie, do not use the term anti-white slur concept, whiteness. You could say attribute to their people, to their biology, attribute to whatever, whiteness. Please, Charlie, if you're listening, look up where that came from. It was created by anti-whites to attack white people.
At the grocery store with a white person, they were acting entitled because they were white. Empowerment. They'll attribute negative experiences that they've had with white people to their whiteness. You had an argument in line at the grocery store with a white person, they were acting entitled because they were white. A white driver cut you off when you were driving, they need to check their white privilege. Your actions, your conduct, and your existence, in other words, boil down to your whiteness. And
okay, so again, this is a revolutionary act, even though it is a very simple observation of reality because it contradicts the anti-white narrative. It's at odds with it. That means Charlie is going to be attacked as a white person. He'll get the same slurs. He'll get the same harangues. He'll get the same denunciations. But these are the conversations that stem from what? Do they stem from the actual lived experience? Do you live in a world, and all non-white people know this, they're being honest with themselves. White people know they're being honest with themselves. The world you live in, white people have no power. White people are afraid. White people don't ever work together. They're terrified of working together or even being seen working together. We're never thinking about each other. We're the most radically individualistic, in my opinion, group of people that has ever existed. We have no identity as the white race. That's what we're trying to create. That's lived experience. Every non-white person goes out into the world. They have white friends. They see that at school. They see that at work. They see that their groups, their non-white groups, stick together for the benefit of the individual by way of the benefit of the group. They see every white person in their circles, whether it's work or school, that the exact opposite happens. They're willing to throw their entire people, even their own family members, onto the bus for individual well-being and success. They see this kind of thing all the time, all around them. That's lived experience. Where does these excuses that Charlie is talking about, these explanations, these defenses for beliefs and actions about the white race that are negative and against the white race that will harm them, where do they come from then? Where is all of this history? It's in your fiction. It's in your fictional movies. It's in your novels. It's in your TV shows. And the subconscious mind, as we teach in the Go Free method, cannot tell the difference. I cannot stress this enough to you all who are listening. You have two minds inside of you. You have your subconscious and your conscious mind. Your subconscious mind absorbs and learns without any effort whatsoever. The conscious mind takes effort, which human beings don't like to exert. The subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between reality and fiction. Have you ever walked through your house afraid of the dark hallway or bedrooms because of the horror movie you watched recently? Were you ever afraid of that valley out in the desert, not because of something that happened in an actual valley in the desert, but because you saw a movie where something horrible happened in a valley in the desert? That is your subconscious mind attempting to live for you. And the problem is that we live the majority of our lives, 95% or more of it, in our subconscious minds. The conscious mind can interrupt at any point. And that's what gives people the illusion that they are actually, with their conscious mind, living their lives. It is merely an illusion, my friends. Those people who Charlie was just pointing out, we're saying, with this white woman and her white privilege, or this white, and that's how all white people act. If you were to put them on a polygraph test, or even some of those more advanced types of lie detecting tests, where they monitor the parts of the brain where the electrical activity is taking place, and you were to ask them, is this happening? Does this happen in the world? They would tell you without a lie detected that indeed it's everywhere in the world, when in reality, they've only seen it everywhere in fiction.
Ashamedly, at one point in time, this
Caleb is here. Great to see you, good brother.
And beyond the people in my circle, I noticed that many people of color have this sort of blasé attitude, an attitude most particularly pronounced.
Okay, we need Charlie to not use the anti-white phrase people of color. Charlie, it excludes the white race from humanity. We should not be excluded from humanity. It is an immoral thing to do. And I know what you're saying. You could say non-white people. Non-white just is neutral. It just means people who are not white. So please, in the future. Could you imagine, Grace, the center is here. Great to see you. Could you imagine Charlie armed with the concepts from Go Free? Could you imagine how much good he would do? I mean, Charlie, you could end up getting on like Fox News even.
When there are no other white people around. Things are being said not just behind closed doors, but out in the open. Not just between close friends, but between complete strangers. So
that's an interesting observation that he makes there. That these things he says, I don't know if you noted that, They're not just being said behind closed doors. In other words, he experiences them being said behind closed doors. Yes, this is indeed what's taking place. And there are a lot of white people out there that need to know it's not just non-white people, it's anti-white people, white and non-white. And behind closed doors, the kinds of things that they say are some of the most horrific you won't even find in horror movies. So he's just telling you right there, it's not just behind the closed doors anymore. He's now old enough that he's seeing it happen out in the world around him. Wonderful. I'm saluting this guy so far. It's fantastic.
Here's the thing. This is something that I've experienced countless times, so I know that there are other people who are experiencing it too.
Countless
I know
times.
it must resonate with at least some of you. The difficulty
Countless.
here is that no matter how many anecdotes I share, they are just that, anecdotes. And people who refuse to believe that this is happening will just chalk it up to my experiences being a fluke. Or worse yet, they'll say I'm lying. So I've compiled some.
No, this is anti-whites, of course, will say that you're lying. They're going to bring it to Charlie. So I suggest when they bring it to him, and that includes the fixators who want to force him into a fixation that will ruin him for real, that it's good to defend him. It's good to step up and say and defend Charlie and defend the position he's taking. But he just said countless, because he's being honest. How often does this happen? You know, when once again, I mean, I just got to say it like it is. When a handsome white man who is a genius and athletic and can physically fight and defend himself very well, adeptly, and is adroit on the athletic fields and the rest, when that natural leader for Western kind steps up in one right here, when that happens, white people are so wrecked by anti-whitism, they can't hear it. They turn away from a natural leader of their people. Look at the kind of people they actually turn to. Misfits out there. If they're white, if it's white people, it's genetic misfits. But where they will turn because of the anti-white narrative, and if anybody wants me to explain exactly why this is a little bit more deeply, make sure you ask and I will. They will turn to listen to and find validation from non-white people. So they are so rare and they are so precious. So empowering Charlie with our lexicon, our concepts, is very easy to use. Empowering him with these concepts will make an enormous difference. Yeah, Tucker, Art Acrobats, I think, asked, will Tucker have Jason on? Never. But would Tucker have Charlie on? Probably so.
TikTok videos. I want you to take a look at the things that are being said about white people, especially by the younger generation, the kind of statements people wouldn't dare say about people of any other race. Take a look at what is stunningly in vogue in today's society and ask yourselves, where does this lead to years down the line?
You have a token white and you're hanging out with your friend group of color.
A what?
You
You have a what?
need
Say about people of any other race. Take a look at what is stunningly in vogue in today's society and ask yourselves, where does this lead to years down the line?
you have a token white and you're hanging out with your friend group.
What did she say? Can somebody write that? Something about a something white. I can't make out what she's saying, and I didn't see that it wrote it.
The line.
You have a token white and you're hanging out with your friend group of color. You need to ask permission from every
Token white, Pearl Lady. Yes. Thank you, everybody. Leonard, thank you. Token white. A token white. Yeah. Isn't that something? See, these are the kind of things that this is normal. This is not abnormal behavior and attitude toward white people. This is a normal, and it's anti-whites. It's not non-white people. There are plenty. Look at Charlie. Plenty non-white people. Wonderful folks. These are anti-whites, and these are their attitudes. This is not going to be in your entertainment media. It's not going to be in the movies and television shows and et cetera, because it contradicts the anti-white narrative where non-white people are all innocent, good. They they're not able to even perceive race whatsoever. They would never harm a fly. If it wasn't for the white race, then nothing. There would have never been a war. It would have just on planet Earth. It would have just been non-white people nurturing ladybugs and butterflies. That's what Earth would have been without white people.
Everybody in the group to bring your white friend. Like, don't just bring them. I might not be in the mood to deal with white shenanigans that day. That's all I'm saying. And another thing, it feeds into their ego. Like, don't let them think they're a good white person.
Oh, I actually know that's true. Anti-whites who are white, it does feed into their ego when non-white people will befriend them and talk to them and hang out with them. It absolutely does. And those kind of white people are slimy. So I kind of identify with that villainous anti-white that was just talking. I kind of feel the same way, because those kinds of white people are slime. You know, if you're a non-white person and you hang out with me, you're just another person to me. I don't feel like, oh, can I coddle up to you because I'm this awful white person? No way. All right, what does this character say? Is this an American Indian? Okay, I'm guessing.
Ask, how can they support Black and Indigenous people of color? And sometimes I really don't know what to say, but here's one easy way. Just don't have babies.
Wow, I'm not going to be able to stop. I don't know how many of these he shares, but I know I feel an urge to be like you know, every one of them. But don't have children. Now, let me just ask you this. What do you see? Now, these anti-whites that Charlie has just shown here, neither one of them were like wearing a furry costume, right? Neither one of them. They were like normal people. You could work where you would see them at work, right? You'd see them out in the world. They'd be functioning out in the world. They both spoke coherently. They weren't wearing like a unicorn horn on their head and believe in attempting to reproduce with bags of flour or something. Although they might do that at other points. Otherwise, they're speaking normally. Now, let me ask you something. Are their statements, just those first two statements, are those statements that are at odds with what we see in the tenor and the thrust of administrations at universities, at state and county governments, at the federal government? Are those statements at odds with? Are those statements at odds with what we see in the military and the social engineering that we're seeing there? Are those statements at odds with the media? No, not at all. So any attempt to dismiss these individuals, these first two at least, and I'm going to guess it's probably going to be most of the others. This one I saw when I was jumping through. What a character. But any attempt to dismiss these people of, oh, you just went out and found a crazy person. I could go out and find crazy white people making idiotic statements. And let me tell you, boy, you're right about that, aren't you? I mean, we just left a bunch of them behind. Thank the good Lord. Please, thank you for this. Thank you. We're away from those folks. They absolutely could, because there are some really sick fixators out there who are playing the villain in the anti-white narrative. But what don't we see with them? We don't see the attitudes and opinions made evident, concretized in government, in media, at universities. The idea, for example, of white people don't reproduce has been ongoing since I've seen advertisements going all the way back to the 1950s. You have it going back then all the way. I mean, in my opinion, check it out for yourselves. And you see every time there's a commercial, every time it's about Planned Parenthood, every time about abortion, it's a white woman, a white family going without children. And then when they depict non-white people, I mean, all the way to like Walmart commercials, it's this wonderful brood of children and they're beautiful and they're making the memories. And I want them to be beautiful and make their memories. But the white people, it's you're living your best life, white people, when you don't have children. So was this guy that he just listened to, that he just played there, was that some crank from out in the foothills or the hinterlands that he had to go dig up? No. That is the common opinion across every vista in the West. Now, this one I saw this one when I jumped through, And here's this some kind of like a online prostitute, some kind of like an e-slut. And she's like, let's just biologically white erase Western kind by having all the white men breed with the Asian women. No, thank you.
Handedly caused the white genocide that they are so afraid of. With 2.25 billion Asian women and 500 million white men.
So I got to just say, God, it's driving me nuts that they're so afraid of. Like you'd be okay with being erased. That it's something that we have to demonstrate that we're brave and tough, and we're okay with ourselves being genocided. Go off. We're not afraid of it because we're not going to let it happen, Cupcake.
Baby, it'll only take 2 generations. In 2 generations, there will no longer be any blonde-haired.
These are some things I know.
All right, so let me no longer be any blonde-haired. I don't know how many he's going to do again, but let's see how many of them are jaywalkers, because that anti-white, and this is why what matters is whether or not a person is anti-white or not, anti-white or serving white well-being. That's what matters. That's all that matters. If she were in charge, could you imagine? And make no mistake, there are other anti-whites of her ethnic and racial heritage in charge at places, and it's their anti-whitism that makes them evil. She was just talking about genociding us and wanting to do that, biologically white erasing us.
Noticed about white American culture, being grounded is a punishment to them. That's what they call punishment. The least grounded, least balanced, most destructive race considers being grounded a punishment. Yeah.
It's something you can do, obviously, on all media platforms if you're anti-white, is you can stereotype a whole race of people. I, as a white man on TikTok, I guess it was, couldn't even criticize some white women. I criticized some white women, and that was enough to be banned repeatedly over there. But these people, they could just, because they're anti-white.
People say really violent phrases. They say things like, kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Not us. We say feed 2 birds with 1 seed. But she's criticizing that. That obviously came from history where, I'm assuming it did, where you had to kill something to eat it and therefore survive. This is like, what's she going to say next? Like, nail 2 nails with 1 hammer? Look at those white people talking about working again.
Why do we have to kill the birds? Why is everything so violent?
Oh, boy. Gosh, talk about the pot calling the kettle black.
It's almost like one's language and phrases reflects one's nature.
Almost. Yeah, almost.
So that new Jeffrey Dahmer movie on Netflix is the perfect example
of what? Her private life? She looks crazy.
of the sensationalization of white violence.
Sensationalization of white violence?
People have a much easier time sympathizing with white criminals than they do with black victims. People think these shows are harmless, but they actually contribute to a much bigger issue. It contributes to the viewpoint that white people are less violent than everyone else, and white violence is something to be consumed in media.
Could you imagine watching media anywhere in the West and coming to the conclusion that the media is being fair or benefiting white people? How much must you truly hate the white race? And let me tell you about an argument here for multiracialism. How well do people of different groups get along when they have numerical courage? How well? You can learn about numerical diffidence and numerical courage in the Go Free lexicon, which you can find in the Go Free book, which is available at Amazon and is available on nowhiteguiltcollectibles.com with a signature from yours truly. And it's a Beautiful signature, I must say, and soon to be an audiobook.
Yeah, that's it.
What is with Caucasian people and like their inability to like read a fucking room? Like,
Okay. We're Western kind. I don't like this Caucasian. We can't. So she's claiming we can't read a room. So let's see. Let's see what she's gonna say.
y'all act like you don't understand shit because y'all be the first ones during a conversation about the Holocaust to get so mad when Black people be like, you do realize that the original Jewish people were Black, right? White.
All right. So here you can see here the power of victimhood status in the anti-white narrative. Now, it's only applied to non-white people and to what they refer to as victim groups, which are really privileged groups because you get all these benefits and privileges and freedom from responsibility when you're a member of one. And you can see the power of it there, but there's a misunderstanding there for her. Not surprised she doesn't understand it because she's anti-white. But she has a misunderstanding there about what is and how is and why is there such a thing as victim groups. Victim groups don't exist in and of themselves. They're not a force of nature or physics. They are a consequence of the desire to victimize Western kind. And the only reason they work is because Western kind, white guilted, will allow it to work. There's a big debate here that we disagree with people. It's mostly white guys who object to identifying our victimization because they're too dumb. Let's just face it. So many white guys are dumb. They're too dumb to understand that there's a difference between your people and yourself being actually victimized and a victim group and victimhood status. They're just too dumb. These white guys, if they were smart enough, if they weren't genetic misfits, they would know that they need to stop thinking and they allow the white guys who do better at thinking than themselves to be in charge. But we'll continue to hear from these guys. It's a cowardly thing, by the way, men and women in the white race, to deny that we are victimized, because even if you can somehow miraculously defend yourself against anti-whitism, which you can't, and you haven't, even if you can, we have elderly, we have children, we have singles, people who cannot protect themselves. And to claim that there's no victimization of our race is to ignore their victimization, is to ignore their suffering. And that makes you a coward and pathetic. And you need to find the door.
People do not need to explain to anybody about us all bleeding red because, baby, you all are the people that need to learn that lesson. Clearly.
Okay, so, but to my point, though, she's talking about witnessing white people, rubbing their hands, tearing at their garments with white guilt about the Holocaust. And she is angered by the fact that their white people are white guilted and lamenting the harm inflicted on Jews, because in Western civilization, in the anti-white narrative, that victim status is a great power. And she's thinking to herself, no, me, and I assume she identifies as Black, and the Black race are the primary victims, so we should have the most power. And going so far as to try to claim the identity of Jewish people in order to achieve that. So these are the kind of things that are going on in these conversations that are deeper than everybody can get what's at the surface. I'm helping you go a little bit deeper.
History shows that you all are the people that like to pillage and eradicate, enslave, and oppress.
Okay, so don't combat that when you come up against an anti-white. That, as you can see, that is purely from fiction. In fiction, it's true. Non-white people don't pillage and rape, do they, in fiction? No, that's very rare. Almost never happens in fiction. For her, fiction, and for us, is real. That's the real world. So breaking out history books, waste of your time.
Attempt to suppress greatness because you all simply don't have it.
Right? Here go y'all cum goblins who don't even live in the fucking city.
Oh my God.
By the way,
That is nasty. Nasty, nasty, nasty. What she just called us. I heard that.
the Q-tip people are the last ones to ever talk about somebody stealing anything. Y'all wouldn't be in this country had it not been for y'all stealing it.
Okay. We've talked about that many times. It's just like South Africa, just like Australia, New Zealand. There were no such places. We made Western civilization and then allowed non-white people to participate. And then you have this sort of ignoramus claim of, oh, you stole all of this from us. In America, as in the rest of the places, there were non-white tribes that were competed with each other militaristically and in other ways for greater and greater share and control of the land that they trod. And in these cases that I mentioned, Canada as well, white people showed up and they entered the fray of competition. They won. And then they created what is inside of us, Western civilization. And then, unlike the rest of history, an actual reading of history with what's done with conquered peoples, magnanimous white people decided to name everything after the non-white people. Long before even there was anti-whitism, they're like, oh yeah, let's just keep all the American Indian names that were already here. Let's just, okay, well, that wasn't done by other groups throughout history, but if you want to do that, fine. And I'm fine. I mean, they did it. So like Shenandoah River that's here in Virginia, that's American Indian. There's American Indian names everywhere. That we should be thanked for that. But of course, we're not going to be. Why? Because it's not in the fiction. So you stole the country.
But y'all are more focused on people looting and trying to get necessities and things that they need. And yes, a TV is a fucking necessity. Thank you. You feel
A TV
you're
is a
better than
necessity.
because people are out here stealing.
And it was, how long ago was it that even the kings and the wealthiest on planet Earth didn't have TVs? TV is a necessity. I'm gonna watch. What are they watching these days? What do they watch? It's the TVs and the weave shops. Necessity.
You would never. First of all, if you are a male monster, that is how your ancestors got everything from stealing. People are,
and that's
monster.
a behavior that's very common among white women.
Oh.
You may have not intended that, but there are many white women who act exactly like.
Is she getting ready to puke? What's wrong with this girl?
You.
If you can find it in your heart this holiday season to donate to the Discriminated White Fund,
there was another
you'd
one.
Be helping millions.
Nothing says high protein like cicadas and cheese.
Well, he's really making the point, Charlie.
And nothing says caucasity like that right there.
What
caucasity looks like?
Caucasity.
Roaming Asian grocery stores like it's an amusement park.
Explain to me why white people don't wear shoes outdoor, but wear.
Yeah, that's disgusting. That is totally disgusting. She should be bent over a knee and have the shit slapped out of her ass. Put your shoes on. Filthy.
Shoes inside.
Why are white people
Both
like?
white women.
I didn't see that.
We are inherently a danger in spaces where Black, Indigenous, and other people.
Oh my
are going
God.
Simply by existing.
Oh, simply by existing. What is then the remedy for that anti-white white pig? What is the remedy then? We're a danger to non-white people simply by existing. Again, is this somebody who is some freak on the fringe? Or is that indeed the opinion that we see, the thrust of rule of law, of bill, etc., across the West? It is indeed.
It's white cis men who are a part of the far right wing.
Did this girl just come down from Mars? Look at this guy. This is what you wake up to in like a horrible nightmare. This guy's leaning over you, and he's like from planet Nubia, and he wants to probe you. For Christ's sake.
Ideology of fascism. That is a true threat and the terrorism to this country.
Well, and there you go. He's pointing out the villain in the anti-white narrative, and you have all these white people playing the villain. so that this guy has something to actually point to in the real world.
BIPOC stand in the street and scream at the top of their lungs, I hate all white people. I want all white people to go die. Die, white devil, you cracker bitch. That's still not racism.
Oh my God, how disgusting. How absolutely. Who's willing to pay for her ticket to say Nicaragua or Nigeria? No return ticket. No return. See, as white people, we got no problem. They act like all the time in the anti-white narrative that we want to coddle white criminals or actors who otherwise harm our people. No. In fact, we have a very, very different tendency.
You're not one of the good white people. Stop separating us from the bad white people. Don't sit out there in comments and say, we don't claim them. We are that.
Look, she's about to break down crying. I want to see this again. You're not one of the good white people.
Good white people. Stop separating us from the bad white people.
Stop separating us from the bad white. We're all bad.
Don't sit out there in comments and say, we don't claim them. We are that. We are the ones shooting up schools.
Oh.
We are the ones raping people, the ones enslaving people.
And I'll say it. I hate being white.
Oh boy. What? That's sad. That's anti-whitism for you. And if that were being done to any other group of people, it would be discussed on a global scale. At what level of evil is at operation that convinces a race of people to hate themselves for what they are intrinsically. This is another reason why you never trivialize race as skin color. This is something he cannot escape. It is what he is every waking, sleeping moment. And the only way he is going to be able to feel good about himself is to wage war on himself in various ways, but much more realistically and evidently on every white person around him, on every projection of the white race. This is the kind of guy right here that is going to have a balaclava on and is going to club you in the back of the head with a wrench if you have a MAGA hat on. How did that end up happening? It's anti-whitism. You have to remedy anti-whitism.
Yeah, which means I'm one of the good ones.
All white people are inherently racist.
Yeah.
Can you be racist against white people?
Based off of the definition of racism, yes, but it's not gonna hurt them and hurt their opportunities like it.
Okay, so we've had this big conversation in the white sympathetic sphere how many hundreds of times when I'm like, where does the definition for racist exist? And then everybody says, well, the dictionary, no, in the heads of the people on the street. And this is not in some private, don't take some like good MAGA person and take them private somewhere and ask them. No, ask them in a room full of people that are going to be able to throw scorn on them if they say something other than what is required socially of the definition. And they will give you the definition that only white people are capable of this evil. This is the reason, this is the concept that destroyed Western civilization. They're not going to allow it to apply to other groups of people. And so you can't change it. White people have been trying for a long time, pointing at the dictionary. Look at my dictionary. Look at what it says here. Shut up. Shut up. It doesn't matter. Written into laws and codes, universities, international treaties, federal laws. Just shut up. Stop using racist. Stop using the concept racism.
It does people of color.
While technically you can, it's not like an issue.
You can't oppress the oppressor.
That was anthropomorphizing us again.
To white people, it's impossible. The system is not set up that way. You can insult white people, but it is not racism. Me calling a white person a tub of mayonnaise and like a flower-looking ass, that's not racist.
You went all the way to Africa to physically take Black people from their homes, shove them in on boats where a lot of them got diseases and died.
Do not do what the fixators do and start talking about, well, let me tell you about who owned the slave ships or whatever. Dumb. This is anti-white narrative. What what you believe in your historical revisionist head is totally irrelevant. And it has always been totally irrelevant. And it hasn't done us any good whatsoever. So learn from that. Learn from that, you slow-minded folks. Learn from it.
Told them where they could sit on a bus, told them which schools they could go to, which water fountains they could use, which bathrooms.
Okay, so we gave them fountains to use. We gave them schools to use. We gave them bathrooms to use. And now you see how it's turned around by anti-whites. This is the way it always will be. This is why you have to get out of the anti-white narrative.
They could use, and that's sugarcoating it. Those are just terms. I'm not even describing all the disgusting things that happen. And they don't even want revenge. They are letting you guys skate by asking for equal rights. That's it. And you're still saying no?
Mm-hmm. Again, you can see this is the argument for what were the speeches given by Joe Biden and Kamala when her mouth wasn't occupied by a cylindrical object. It was, we need equity. So this you might be able to dismiss and say, oh, well, she's just some fringe-dwelling psycho in her bathroom. Nobody else holds that opinion. Oh, except for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, right? Except for them. And they're saying, oh, you have to discriminate against the white race.
They are not as angry as they should be. Y'all are getting off easy and you're still saying no? Fuck you.
Some people look at that.
Before we listen to Charlie, I was actually good. I was going to jump through the rest if there were more. That I just want to point out that I didn't notice any of these jaywalkers. And I am pretty confident, as far as like 100% confidence, that without them, these very ill people, these very anti-white people would continue being very anti-white. And they are, for most of them, I think they look pretty young. They're going to be in the positions of power. So that's not going away.
And chalk it up to the crumblings of the powerless. That's the idea that when you have a power disparity, the less powerful sort of has this general society given leeway to complain about the more powerful. The villagers complaining about their king doesn't have the same ring as the king making snide and crude comments about the villagers. But that's not what's going on here. Because although certain segments of our society refuse to believe this, even as evidence mount before our very eyes, in one side of the political aisle, people of color actually have greater power than white people.
Well,
That's the truth that is not being acknowledged.
Non-white people, please stop with the people of color. Non-white people, and I can see the great reptile, the great genius reptile is with us. Wonderful to see you, brother. So's Benny is here as well. Cascadia, great to see you. Remember, if you have Prometheus is here. If you have a question for me, tag me as No White Guilt, and I will get to all of your financial gifts. I'll probably do the financial gifts, if there are any, in a few more minutes of this. But point in fact to what Charlie is saying right there, non-white people have all of the legal power in the West. All of it. All of it. In my opinion, of course, ask CNN. All of it. We have whole lifetimes of experience of witnessing that. And even more so, all of the social power. All of it. All of it. They are in total control because of anti-whitism, in my opinion. Think for a minute, if a group of people, just an average group of people in society, enter a room and there are two people arguing, one is non-white and one is white, and the white person says, he or she called me, and then whatever the anti-white slur is, and then the non-white person says, he or she called me, and then the non-white slur. What is the group of people? Who are they going to side with, I should say? You know very well. In fact, they allow in American courts and courts elsewhere across the West, they will allow, judges will inform the law with anti-white morality. They will allow non-white people to physically beat white people who said words that the non-white people don't like. Now, this is my opinion. Go look it up and see if it's ever happened. But I think I've seen it a time or two or more than that. Check it out for yourself. They'll say, well, it's understandable that he beat you and cracked your skull open because, after all, you called him the N-word. I mean, how many times have we seen this? So who has the power in the West? It's not white people. And of course, I want to point this out for those who might be missing it. If the problem is that white people are the only ones who can be racist and discriminate and all of these other kind of things because they have power, then what's the remedy? The remedy then is that white people can't have power. Any white people can't have power. That's the only remedy. This is why you do not engage with anti-whites inside the anti-white narrative.
By the people that need to hear it, because this gets in the way of them wielding that power in the way they want, malignantly. I've heard from somewhere that politics is downstream of culture, and I think that is certainly correct. We have a mainstream culture that tells us it's okay to hold prejudice and hateful view of white people, and our politics is then infused with this energy, and we see active, overt, and
what he's calling an energy is the morality. It's the anti-white morality. They have a moral imperative. That's why in the Go Free lexicon, we infuse our own moral imperative. When you see in contest with anti-whites is victorious again and again and again.
On the book's racial discrimination of white people, that those who are perpetuating this hatred is refusing to see as discrimination. They'll say, no, 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 this is remediation. These are the same people who are making tenuous arguments that some of our race neutral.
This is what I was saying earlier. Every destruction in Western civilization of what is the West is defended as retributive justice. We're just getting back at white people. So for all the good non-white people out there, it's your freedom of speech too. It's your freedom of association. It's on and on. All of the rules, all of the norms of society, the functioning of the electricity and water, and as we see getting shut down in our once great country of South Africa, all of that you depend on and love is originally created and maintained and needed and utilized by white people. And so all of it has to be destroyed and remade and everything taken away from white people in order to have this anti-white justice, retributive justice. That's why you have to help us defeat anti-whitism, or you're losing everything. You'll lose your privacy. All of that's going to go away. Everything you love.
Laws discriminate against people of color. And this is certainly evidence that in one side of the political aisle, people of color have more power than white people. Because if we didn't have the power, we wouldn't be able to put into place practices and policies that does this. That's what power is.
Yes.
Things like Minneapolis local government agreeing to a contract with the teachers union that says white teachers must be fired first. New York City's government enacting a policy of having white seniors go to the back of the line on life-saving COVID treatment. A college professor that says white people should be killed and facing no repercussions. Cornell University banning white people from rock climbing lessons. One of many instances of liberal colleges doing the utmost to exclude and ostracize white students. BIPOC only.
Yeah, it is infinite. And I feel kind of bad because when you're like, let me go find some evidence of what we see everywhere, and you instantly step up to Olympus Mons level of data, it's very intimidating. And you feel like, if I just grab this one and this one and this, like you're not doing any justice. But it's everything in the West, from a club that is just going to be just for non-white people, white people not allowed. You know, when they say just for non-whites, that means white people not welcome. You can't do that, obviously, in the reverse. You all the way up to policies at corporations, national and international, and as we said, state and federal government, policies that favor, everywhere you look, favor non-white groups, not for the purpose of favoring them, for the purpose of harming Western kind, every single time.
Only events equal no whites, but they don't have the guts to say that, even though that is only visible from rock climbing lessons. One of many instances of liberal colleges doing the utmost to exclude and ostracize white.
Not just liberal, which is anti-white, all universities.
Students. BIPOC only events equal no whites, but they don't have the guts to say that, even though that is what that is. That's what makes us different than the
That's a great way to say it. Arden White is here. Great to see you, sister. Northern Dawn is here. Wonderful to see you.
mere grumblings of the common villager. The villagers have surrounded the palace, demanding Mary Antoinette's head. The power dynamics have shifted. That is a fact. Progressive media outlets do not cover these stories. Some people out there have no idea that this is going on. But worse, some others out there know but agree with what's going on. And for those people to convince themselves that this is not racial discrimination, they play mind tricks and word games. They use phrases and talking points like punching up. You can't be racist to white people. You can't oppress the oppressor, meaning I'm acting oppressively, but I've designated you as the oppressor, so everything goes. Or if
Yeah. And that's back to the anthropomorphizing of the race. So in other words, if you have a child being victimized by an adult, that adult is the oppressor and the child can't do anything to the adult because of the size difference, education difference, life experience difference, etc. That, of course, is not what's taking place. Do not get dragged into those conversations with anti-whites. These are their concepts that we refer to as meme pathogens, and we teach you to refield the conversation because they are in a fantasy. And if you allow somebody to take you into a fantasy and you try to bring documents from the real world about data, it means you are a dumb SOB. And that's what our race has been for a long time. And because you can't listen to white guys with high foreheads anymore. You can't identify a real leader anymore. I mean, for God's sakes, these white nationalist groups, they've outsourced to other races, Jewish people and the rest, their leadership.
Abraham X. Kennedy's infamous words, the only way to remedy past discrimination is current discrimination. Or when people say things like, what we're doing to white people is not racism because racism is prejudice plus power and we don't have the power. They use all this mind-bending apparatus to delude themselves into believing what they're doing faces no moral quandary. But in the back of their minds, perhaps in their subconscious minds, is racial revenge.
Yes.
We experienced it.
Yes.
You experienced it too.
And here's the thing. Does that make sense? This is why it's fantasy. Does it make sense? Like he just said, they're saying to themselves, we experienced it. How do you experience the joys or pains of another person that isn't even alive? How do you experience that? So how are they experiencing, take your average, say, non-white person who claims that their ancestors were slaves, for example, in the United States, and they're saying they experienced it? How? That is fantasy. And you have experienced some sort of benefit from being the owner, and you have no tangible connection whatsoever. It is pure fantasy. All of these things designed as excuses to do what? To get at the victimization of Western kind. This is why we go straight to their objective. And we say, I don't care how many excuses you have for it. I reject anti-white conclusions. We're going to be actually equitable or nothing at all. And you're going to out yourself as the anti-white POS that you are. Everything he just ran through that they said, oh, they play these mind games and everything. All of those things were what? Constituent parts of the excuse of retributive justice.
See how you like it. That people of color are using our newfound power to act this way and then pretend like none of this is going on leads me to believe that we would have done the same thing that white people did were we to be in their historical position. Because such acts...
Wow. That's a great point he's making, that what he witnesses now that non-white groups are doing to white people is the evidence that disproves the anti-white narrative that if non-white people had been dominant in, well, and of course they were dominant in their countries, but if they had dominated the white race, they would not have treated the white race differently. They would not have said, okay, white race, we're going to teach you now how to coddle and take care of lightning bugs and ladybugs and butterflies. That is fiction. He's saying right there, the way that you're behaving now is evidence that you would have been every bit as ruthless as you claim that white people were. And again, it's white people back then. It's not that it infuriates me beyond the ends of time that white infants are held. This is why This is why I put this on the front of Born Guilty. White infants are born with this white guilt laying on them, with this responsibility, with this debt laid on them by these vicious anti-white pieces of human waste that he was showing videos of. As you can see, it's just an excuse to get to our victimization, to get to the victimization of that baby right there. It's just an excuse. Do not stay in their story.
Have its roots in human nature, not white people nature. And one can only imagine what might happen in the coming decades when the demographics of the US will have shifted such that white people will no longer constitute the majority, when the younger generation you've just seen have graduated from elite schools and hold positions of power in our
Yes.
institutions, our government, corporations, entertainment, news media, and so forth, how they might, in wielding the levers of society, be able to rationalize using their adult brain the hatred
Yes.
that was embedded in their minds during their adolescence. What we're seeing
Yep.
is just the beginning.
Grace, you're welcome. Thank you for thanking me for reviewing this. You're not going to get a better review anywhere else. I mean, face it. If you're one of these people that want to show up and you're like, I don't know, there's a white guy with a tall forehead, not interested, then you can yourself off. You're going to go hang out in the dunce room. You're not going to find a better insight than you're going to get from yours truly. And I'll debate anybody on it.
To the white people who are watching, I just want to say, you are not an oppressor for refusing to accept an ideology that teaches people to hate you, that teaches you that you are inherently bad,
Yep.
that your children are inherently bad, that you are inherently racist no matter what you do or how you think, that you need to repent by taking affirmative steps in your life to redress harms that your ancestors may have done, or the racist actions of other white people. In fact, you are not an oppressor, period. You did not choose to be
That's right.
born white, just like any of us did not choose to be born in our race. And to ask of you, at the individual level, for example, to give your life in service of people of color, to be used as physical barriers at protests, to give away your house to black people instead of your children, all actual things that have been publicly demanded of white people.
And white people are doing. Some of those white people you saw, they're giving, we see this routinely in the white race. You don't see this in any non-white race, as far as I'm aware, where people will, a family will accrue wealth over the course of their lives, whatever that is. It could be low, middle class, whatever it is. And then they take it all and they give it to non-white people rather than their descendants, because that's how brainwashed they are. They're taking, and it's, by the way, it's not theirs to just give away to other groups of people, because they didn't start off in their lives with nothing. It was their parents and grandparents and ancestors of generations of white people that have built brick upon brick upon brick, that they then take all of that and give it the middle finger and give it away. It's the only race that does that, because they have succumbed to anti-whitism, and there hasn't been a way out until the go free method.
To ask this of you is morally reprehensible collective punishment. You are not under any obligation to carry yourself in any sort of way that others demand of you just because of the color of your skin. This, you need to do this and you need to do that because you benefit from privilege thing is bogus.
Mm-hmm.
It is just a way for people harboring racial animus to attack you.
Yes.
To say that the accomplishments you've achieved in your life isn't yours.
Yes.
And to silence you. It is not you. It is this ideology that is wrong and perverse. It is one cloaked in a shroud of pseudo-justice and self-righteousness, all the while excreting toxic fumes of racial hatred.
Yes.
It blames all white people for the actions of their...
And let me point out, why do they bother in the anti-white narrative, the psychological warfare? Why do they bother to give the individual man or woman anti-white on the street a moral argument? Because human beings need that to act. They're going to be, especially in my experience, white people. There are going to be some, we usually put those in prison or execute them, that need no moral framework whatsoever. It's in part for the actor, in this case, the anti-white, the victimizer, but in larger part for the victim. The excuse to victimize white people has to be agreed with by the white victim so that they will allow themselves to be victimized. You're not going to get that take anywhere else. Nobody else will give you deep insight like that. That is how this ends up happening. That is why I created the Go Free method. Because you are not going to be able to stay in their story. We have many generations to prove it, and argue with them inside of their narrative against their white guilting and succeed. You have to get out of that story. It's a very easy thing to do with the concepts that we provide you. You learn more jargon at work.
Their ancestors, something you have no control over, while absolving Black people of personal responsibility for their own individual actions by holding that Black people commit acts of harm, for example, towards another community. That's a fault of white supremacy.
Big hello to Western Kind Artist here. Great to see you. And Danielle is here. Hello to you. Well, it's not just Black people, but my guess is he's talking about Black people that have freedom from responsibility and inside the anti-white narrative because of the victimization of Asian people where they intersect in some communities with some Black people, not all Black people, of course. So my guess that's why his focus is there. But every non-white group and every victim group or privileged group that can contain white people there as well, they all have freedom from responsibility inside the anti-white narrative when victimizing white people. And that could take the form of the physical person of a white person, or their economy as far as job or healthcare, anything like that, but also our projections, Western civilization, our laws, our literature, our mathematics. We see it all under attack by anti-whitism.
White people are controlling them like puppets on a string. It's a backwards, transgressive ideology. If you don't harbor any hate in your heart but want to fight it as a matter of principle, this does not make you racist or bigoted. If you refuse to accept their premise in your head, but are too afraid to voice your opinion, you're neither a coward nor a bad person. If you're of a liberal bent, but there's a small corner in your brain telling you as you're watching this video that perhaps some of this is wrong, listen to your intuition.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you think, oh, I agree with most of what the progressive left teaches about racial justice, but just not with some of this disagreeable stuff, only at the extremes. I'm here to tell you that the rot starts at the core.
Amen.
This racial hatred of white people.
Amen. It is rotten from the core throughout the system. Anti-whitism, there's nothing that is legitimate about it. Not a scintilla is legitimate about it. It is all designed to justify, legitimize the victimization of Western kind and the destruction of our projections.
Is a natural outgrowth, part and parcel of an ideology that attempts to indoctrinate us into believing that there is current systemic oppression going on, that all racial disparities we see today is the sole result of oppression by white people, when there are other more plausible explanations to be had that these same people are silencing as impermissible hate speech. They're telling you, shut up, you'll take it, and you'll like it.
Yeah, that's exactly what they say.
But contrary to what they're saying, you don't have to take that. You can believe that the things that have been done in the past were morally wrong, as well you should, all the while believing that what is currently going on is also wrong, that we're going backwards, that this is history rhyming with itself. The table is turning in an eye for an eye manner. As the great Mahatma Gandhi once said,
well, that's where the reality would be rhyming with the fiction of anti-whitism. The reverse of the fiction is this domination. That's what he's talking about there, rather than the reality of the present being a reverse and rhyming with a reality of the past. So that's an important distinction to make.
Eye for an eye.
Let's have this guy on, man. If he'll come on, he's going to be a superstar. God bless him too. Really, send this guy your good vibes. Send this guy your good energy. He's going to have a lot of sort of these white, like wimpy white people that are not able to find validation in themselves because they're white, or from a handsome white genius like myself. They'll only be able to find validation in non-white people saying, it's okay, whitey, it's okay. You don't have to think that way. and they'll give him like these tepid applause. But there are going to be some sickers that come after, slandering this guy. Who knows what they're going to say about? Look at all the things he said about me. They're going to be slandering this guy. Big people are going to be out there trying to lead him down these dead-end alleys to make him look awful. So pray for this guy. Send him your good vibes, whatever it might be that you do, because it's coming.
I will lead the whole world blind. But those driven by hatred would sooner gouge everyone's eyes out than realize that true victory for people of color and that we're going backwards, that this is history rhyming with itself. The table is turning in an eye for an eye manner. As the great Mahatma Gandhi once said, an eye for an eye will lead the whole world blind. But those driven by hatred would sooner gouge everyone's eyes out than realize that true victory for people of color would have been having history record that when the power dynamics shifted, we treated white people with a kindness that their forefathers may not have shown our forefathers. But now, it will say.
So he's speaking to, I think, in a way, kind of alleviate, I think, specifically non-white people who are anti-white, saying that, come on, guys, we can be better than what we've learned about white people. And that, again, is still, looking at the anti-white narrative as historical truth or accurate or what have you. And that therefore there's this like blood libel or also blood wealth, if you will. So they've done, if we can do good, we were so good in the past before they showed up, and we could be that good again, and we will then be the inheritors of that good, that sort of thing. So right out of the anti-white narrative, just wanted to point that out.
Say when we gained the power, we turned around and started doing some of the same stuff to white people. Segregation, social ostracization, hatred sanctioned by government and law. And we're doing all of this while pretending like we're doing something valiant. We've missed our bus. But that doesn't mean that there can't be a course correction. So, to some people of color watching who are engaging in this sort of hatred, whether or not you're acutely aware, the same people that act like white people as a collective are not people, but rather some pernicious alien force that has come to invade the earth. With this video, I implore you to ask yourself, what are we doing to white people?
Yeah.
As some people love to say, do better. Happy New Year, everyone. I hope that this new year brings you love, joy, and light. 2022 was a really difficult year for me, but the difficult times were interspersed with times of happiness. Some of the happiest moments of my life, actually. So I'm grateful for 2022 and excited for 2023. I hope you're as well. Please do not give up your resolutions in January. Stick it out till March, like I do.
All right. So what are your views on this video? What did you think of Charlie? Great guy, huh? This is a champ. I hope and pray. You could tell that he has to have a big heart to do this. I hope to God there are other groups out there of people who call themselves right-wing, and they have these insidious opinions about the world, how it operates, and who are the actors out there that are awful. And they would take this guy with what he's showing here is a great love and a great courage. And they would essentially remake him into the kind of people that he was saying, let's not be like them, the anti-whites. They would remake him into anti-jaywalker. So let's hope he doesn't end up, and let's try to give him advice, and let's try to give him some help so that he will stay away from those types of mentalities. That's not what he is. And if he ends up, at least from what we can tell here, if he ends up, because of the fame, because of the number of people that will applaud him, if he ends up in one of these environments, it will ruin what he's done here with this video. You'll absolutely just have to take this and throw it away. If he were to show up at, say, with Dirty Fuentes, this video would be of no value anymore to the white race. Because how do you go from, hey, let's stop convicting the white race and let's just treat everybody fairly, to let's stop convicting the white race, to let's start convicting Jews? I mean, it would just make a mockery of this. Please, you could see that writing on the wall. Do not let that happen. if you can. If you can speak to this guy, if he wants to come on with us, I will send him immediately free copy on me of Go Free, of Born Guilty, of Prometheus, whatever he wants to have. It's a Comedy, damn it. Crucible. I'll send him everything. I'll send him whatever he wants. I don't know how far he lives away, but if it's close enough, I'd even meet with him. Just whatever it takes. He is very valuable because, one, he's a human being and we value people. Two, he can speak to millions of white people. He already has 1 million plus on this video and counting in days. He can speak to white people, especially a lot of like fuddy-duddy white women who would never listen to a proud, sexy, genius white man like myself, because they've learned to hate men, especially white men. And no white man is going to be able to legitimize self-defense for white people, for those ladies. They need someone else to come in. This guy, I got to take my hats off to him. God bless him. God bless you, Charlie. I don't know if you're watching or where you are, but we really appreciate it. Thank you for having the courage to stand up in an age that you could just be quiet and reap massive rewards from this. God bless you for that. And for standing up for the people who are actually victimized, actually powerless. You know, you obviously know that there are a lot of white faces out there in positions of authority, in the government or universities, and you know that every single one of them are anti-white. There isn't a single white person out there in a position of power that will affirmatively say enough is enough when it comes to anti-whitism. You know they're anti-white, so it means a lot to us. People who love, not people who hate. Okay? So we hope you get that message. Heidi is here. Great to see you, dear sister. She says you should totally send him your books. He's got them all. I will send, and I know that there are a handful of you out there that I'd have to fight off for trying to pay for them, including Yiz the Unifier. You're not paying for them. I am going to pay for them. I'm going to send them. That's how good our people are. I will send them to this guy whenever, if I find out where he is, where to send him, I'll make it happen. So let's see, what else do we have? Northern Dawn says, Charlie has an open mind, and if we can give him the Go Free tools, he will be a fantastic asset. He will, an asset against the evil of our age. Let's always make sure that we tell it like it is. He is an asset against the evil of our age. Art Acrobat says we all need to comment on his video. What do you all have to say? Give me your opinions. And I want to know what you think, and then I'll speak on what you think. I'm sure you have some questions that I can supply some input on. I've been doing this for a long time. Just think of me as like your neurosurgeon or something. I've had to do it for a long time. I know a lot about it. And then maybe you've been reading about neurosurgery for a couple of years. I get it. But I've been in the guts. I've been in the guts. And we have proof of concept everywhere we turn. So if you have any questions, please, I will happily help you out. Anonymous person with name is here and writes, I think the tide is turning. The tide is turning. You can see in the great concepts, the concepts that defeat racism, that we have pushed into use. With the help, by the way, we have pushed it into use. But those folks, some of them are aware of the encouragement from around them, and then they take it. Some of them aren't aware. Those who are aware, and I think some of you might know a couple of them who they probably are, we take our hats off to those people too, because those are Herculean things to take on board and to begin to share with their millions of viewers. God bless every single one of you as well. And we live in an age when we have to talk in riddles, I'm afraid, because we are the victimized group. But for those who can read riddles, you'll be the ones who are left standing. Not every white person is going to make it through this bottleneck. God bless you. Let me roll up to the top. I'm going to take a look at your financial gifts. And very first, please, let's get out your raucous emojis, your 07s. your 07s, because a champion has stepped up, that steps up all the time. The great No White Guilt Clips. Financially gifting, get this, ladies and gentlemen, $136. $136 in the name of Charlie kicking ass dollars. No White Guilt Clips. God bless you, brother. I really appreciate that. I guess he wanted to go one up, but it's more than just one up. Where he was outbid the other day. God bless you, man. That is fantastic. What a champ. What a hero. And we have here Ace. Keep out those 07s and raucous emojis for Ace, because she financially gifted 25 Defend the White Baby dollars, 25 of them, every single one of them, cuddly little white babies. Defend the White Baby dollars. God bless you. And she writes with those dollars for Western Kind, and she has a smiley face that she added. God bless you both. That's really beautiful. And we also have Dr. I. Dr. I financially gifting 10 Save the White Baby dollars, putting into anti-whitism dollars from Dr. I. And he writes, saluted. Amen. And I thank you for that. Saluted indeed. A big salute for Charlie. Let me ask you this, folks. Who would you rather leave your kids with for the day? Somebody like Charlie or somebody who's fixating on jaywalkers? I think the answer is simple for those who are sane. All right, let me see. We have here Montana Kid is with us over on Entropy. God bless you, brother. $5 financial gift. And he writes, all of the anti-white hope, plans, and evil plotting will not come to fruition. I love the way that's worded by Montana Kid, because it takes ownership of preventing that outcome. We're not just getting entertained here. We are doers. We are participating in this contest. That's really what distinguishes us from so many others. And when I say that, participators and doers are the ones who use the tools that work. Right? I've been out, I've hung hundreds of banners and flags. I've passed out tens of thousands of leaflets, all of which were useless because they did not contain the lexicon, because I was learning. We don't have to be dumb like that anymore. I was dumb for you. Now you can go out and be brilliant. God bless you, Montana Kid. Over on D Live, I do not see. Wait, I do see. Looks like we have Spartan donated 1 lemon. Thank you. We have TK donating 1 ice cream cone. These are cryptocurrencies on D Live. God bless you. Thank you. We have, I actually forgot about things like lemons, and I didn't know. I thought those were like stickers. Thank God I figured it out. We have, is that Hartza donating a lemon? Thank you so much for that. Crazy Lady Jane donating a lemon as well. God bless you. Thank you for that. If these people have left or you see them next time, please let them know that I celebrated them and I thank them. We have Spartan as well with an ice cream of points over here, whatever D Live currency it is. Thank you so much. And then on Odyssey, we have Stony financially gifting $5 and writing with those dollars. Nearly all of these, nearly, maybe it means like paper Americans, are only a generation away. Well, I don't know about that. So he's saying that. Okay. He's saying that these folks that have come in are a generation away from living in the way that they or their parents or grandparents or whatever left behind. And that if Western civilization isn't there to, and white people, because that's where Western civilization comes from, in my opinion, then it will become what they make of it. So I agree that it will become of what they make of it, without question, because that'll be the projection of their instinct, the projection of their biosphere. None is better than another. There's no cosmic ruler for it. Question everything says, it's like, I guess Charlie came to the same conclusions. Charlie came to your same conclusions on his own. A lot of what you say is evident. Yeah, it's fantastic. He's obviously a very bright guy and brave and caring. So God bless him. God bless again to everybody on D Live who gave me their cryptocurrency, and because I have been missing those. So let me get back to you all. What are you all saying about this? And then what I'm going to do is we'll spend another handful of minutes or whatever it takes on this. Then I'm going to get into the issue for those who want to remain around for this community and the end of 2022 and two big challenges that we faced and have overcome. And I want to speak to those things and about the community as a whole kind of going forward. So we'll do that briefly as well. Lapis is here. Great to see you. Lance is here. Great to see you. There's the great Kate. I was wondering if we would see her. RC the Realist is here. Great to see you, brother. We were playing you at the beginning of the gathering. Azumut Clark, Nestor. All right. Alex is here. I think he's got a good heart. Charlie does. It does absolutely appear that way. Supposedly challenging the anti-white status quo without actively addressing anti-whitism, but bouncing around abstractions instead. Yeah, we can get him on the ball. Could you imagine Charlie unleashed with these concepts? Holy moly. There would be millions of housewives, white housewives and house dads that would suddenly be like light bulbs going off over top their heads, wouldn't it? It would be something. Monica is here. Hello to you and welcome. White Student Transmission is here. Great to see you, brother. And so is Summer Lee. Hello. Monica says, good evening, No White Guild. I've been watching on TV tonight. Wanted to say hello to everyone. God bless you all. Well, God bless you, Monica. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching. And I hope you're taking on board a lot of what we're talking about here so that you and your contests at dinner, at lunch, at breakfast, with friends, with neighbors, you can get into the battle against the great evil of our age, anti-whitism. And with whatever you could do, even if it's a little bit, it'll be added to everything that we all are doing. And we're already proving it. We can change the language that the anti-white superstructure uses. So let's keep pushing. All right. And always reject these fixators, always reject these haters that are out there. You just want to hate on a group of people. Ed is here. JK160 is here. All right. Well, I don't think that Axis Mooney says in the brains more like it. Oh, darn. I don't know where you came in with that. Maybe I'll remember. Northern Dawn. Charlie has an open mind. Yep, read that. Yeah, so let's help this guy. Let's pray for this guy. Northern Dawn is asking how does he financially gift? Well, you can head down into the description below. You'll find that there is a Cash App link. You'll need the Cash App on your phone to be able to use that. It's a wonderful app, actually. Hooks right up to your bank. It's totally secure, and all of my experience with it over the years. And there's that. And there, of course, is Entropy, which is up and running right now. And you can click on that Entropy, head on over there, and you can financially gift there. You can also go to Odyssey. On Odyssey, you can financially gift with cash or with their cryptocurrency. And then on D Live, you can financially gift with their cryptocurrency. Thank you for asking. K Max McDonald is here. Hello to you. Fornull says, check Entropy. Was that what I already got or no? Yeah. Okay, cool. Or is there something missing? That was Montana Kid. Nothing else has come up yet on Entropy. You can also financially gift. It won't be able to see it right now, but you can financially gift by going over to nowhiteguilt.org, clicking on the financial gift tab, and there are 5 cryptocurrency wallets. If you're looking for links in general, nowhiteguilt.org/links. That'll take you to my links page, and you'll be able to see everything I'm on there. Then that can make it easy. All right. I'm going to ask everybody, pray for this guy, send him your good vibes, send him your positive energy, whatever it is, so that he can, by way of that, be helped and protected. But then physically get into the comments, tell him about Go Free if you feel like sharing it. Protect him from these other types, these haters of Jewish people, and these other folks who would like to turn him obviously to something gross and demonic that will end up nullifying the good that he's done with this. And wouldn't it just be so obvious to undermine all of the positive things for white people that these folks would be after? So help protect him from those people. Let him know what those folks are, because they're going to be getting at him, and they're going to say, look at this list we have of the things that folks of this persuasion own. And so therefore you have to be jealous of them and hate them for the way they were born. Oh, he says that was a reference to the brain surgeon analogy. Said, I've been in the guts. He says, it's a good analogy. I was just agreeing. Right? Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Oh, boy, JK160 making a great point. Charlie will have a bigger impact than Kanye. Without question, he will have a bigger impact than Kanye. Without question. On several levels. Why is that? A bigger impact for what? Well, what Charlie did contests the great evil of our age, which is anti-whitism, which is an ideology practiced by people of all races. And we talk about, we explain why that exists in people, where it came from. It will, by defeating that great evil of our age, put an end to the victimization of white people. And that's what we want. We want an end to the victimization of white people. I would like to go further in that I want us to become a people, and I believe that we have to be a people to end our victimization. But if theoretically we could have our victimization ended tomorrow, I would take that. I would take that right away. What he did here is in service to that objective. Kanye West, or Ye, whatever his name was, he was serving his selfish tantrum. he doesn't even care about all these people who have assembled themselves around him. You do know that Kanye West hired some sort of a high-ranking rabbi to be his advisor, to be like his main theologian advisor. So he's just serving his own demons, his own low IQ. And then you have all of these hangers-on, these people who are making money, these people who are serving sick motives that immediately have owned him for what they see there rather than what's actually there, as their leader, as their hero. He's not taking down anything. So, yeah, there's a big difference. There is a night and day difference between Kanye West and Charlie, what's his last name? Cheon. At least I think. If I've mispronounced your name, I'm sorry, man. I've never seen it before. Franklin making a great point. Naming them ruins you. That's Ye's law that I coined. And he followed it up with naming anti-whitism empowers you. It absolutely does. The great Fornull is tearing things up. Great to see you with us as always, good sir. Was that Mrs. Jess Horst is here? The great Mrs. Jess Horst? If you are, great to see you, sister. All right, so I guess if there is, let me just check one more time about young Charlie. Oh, we do have another financial gift. Over here on Cash App monitors, in case you all don't know, you're new to me and what we do here, I am sitting in surrounded by monitors. If you can imagine, I got monitors all the way, like a semicircle of monitors. And when I'm looking over to my right, your left, that's where the reason for that is because Cash App is on one of those monitors. And we have Western Kind United has financially gifted one Save the White Baby dollars. And he says, here is to a future of advocacy for white well-being. Absolutely. That's a great idea. Let's see if we can bring young Bryce over to become an advocate for white well-being. And I want to point this out because it has to be pointed out. It's so relevant that when a white person, but it's really poignantly obvious here, the distinction and difference. When a non-white person joins us, they are joining with us for white well-being, to put an end to the victimization of white people, which will benefit them, their families, and their loved ones. Because, as I've articulated several times today, everything that they love and care about is being destroyed in the name of retributive justice against white people. If you are one of these ant-nats, or what else do they call them, wig-nats? If you are one of these Jew-fixated people, just fixated on Jewish people, and non-white people come over to you, they are joining you not to put an end to the victimization of white people, but to victimize Jewish people. Think about the difference there. Really think about the difference. If there's a God in heaven, he's going to make sure that everybody knows, and that good folks with solid work ethic, good background, law-abiding, real men and women of the West, and all the wonderful people of all the immutable characteristics, that they end up coming here so that we can really defeat this great evil. Because without it, there's no hope. It will absolutely take the West down in flames. Every other tactic has been at work in the world. Every other strategy has been at work in the world since before your great-grandparents. And everything has gone precipitously down in the West. So it takes a real moron to continue with strategies that have given you those results. And strategies that are only superficially or ostensibly for the good of white people. Because as you can see, they're not serving the good of white people. They're serving the ill-being of Jewish people. And that is not what we do. Absolutely not. It is disgusting. Elaine Sabatino, she called them the Yatards. She says, set us back, if anything. Oh, they absolutely have. But it really has. And I hope everybody will remember. You know, if you don't have a great memory, we won't call it a list, but maybe you should write down all of those different content creators and organizational leaders that became sycophants of Kanye West and his campaign of tantrums, so that you'll know forevermore. Don't let them walk it back, because rest assured, you're going to see them in the future saying, oh, I never really endorsed him at all. Bull. We're not forgetting. All right. Quick look here, and we're going to get into the final little bit. Yeah. Smart people, and this is why, like over here on Odyssey, where Question Everything wrote, it's so true about Charlie here, is that he's coming to a lot of the same conclusions. That's why all the smartest people come to the practice of going free, which is just the use of concepts that refields conversations where we are the moral actors and the anti-whites have to reveal themselves as immoral. It works every single time. Just ask Kate. She's lit up the world several times on Twitter, and she's no ace at using the concepts yet, but she will become. And the anti-whites just come out of the woodwork and they reveal themselves instantly. All right. So who's ready to get into the final segment? Machiavelli Sucks is here. Great to see you, brother. He says, no white guilt, a better man than me. Why are you saying that? Yeah, make a list. But we won't call it a list, because lists are scary thing. They seem weird, you know. I think probably FBI, they start listening. They're like, who's making lists? We're just trying to remember who became sycophants of Kanye West. And there is almost all of them. It's like maybe me and this community, we're the only ones who didn't, right? Gentile Gentleman is here. Great to see you, brother. All right. I'm going to go ahead and jump into the final segment for our roll-in today. I think we got through a lot of good stuff. I think we talked about some good things with Charlie, and I hope that we can help him and he can help us. And I would give him, you know, if we had an award, and we're not breaking it up. There's not like for white people, for non-white people. If we had like an award, maybe like a monthly award, and then a yearly award for champions combating anti-whitism, I think this guy's definitely got January down. I mean, who's going to compete with 1 million plus and growing? Me, never. Can you imagine all the white people freaking out upon hearing me say something, say the things he said? I could read a script of what he said. That's how infected white people are with anti-whitism. But why don't we go ahead and talk about the challenges that this community faced. Just briefly, we're not going to stay here for a long time. This community, I got to get back to editing the audio book, which is, I got to say, when I listen to myself, I am melodious in a sonorous way. It is, I think people will really be interested in listening to Go Free. And we had great Yiz, the unifier, and gosh, I'm missing her name right now. Oh God, what's the content creator? The woman who appears with Yiz often, and she's is she a social scientist? Her and some of the others, they were saying, oh, you got to do the audiobook for Go Free. People don't read anymore. And I was like, yeah. And then they were actually offering, they were like, hey, I'll read a chapter. I'll read a chapter. I think I might do that. I think I might take them up on that for the purpose of YouTube videos rather than the audiobook itself. But who knows? Maybe I'll Aiden. That's it for no. Great. Thank you. Aiden Paladin. That's right. She was like, she said, I got a full legit studio here. I'll read as many chapters as you want. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. There was a guy there too who said he would participate. So good folks. And I think that could be great on YouTube videos at a minimum, but maybe also in an audio book format of Go Free. This is Go Free 2nd edition, iteration 2. And I have stacks of material for edition 3 that I'm going to begin working on shortly. And then as soon as I'm done with the Go Free audiobook, I'm going to begin with the Prometheus Rising audiobook, because the time has come. The time has come to unleash the real magic. But this community at the end of 2022 faced 2 really big challenges. And I'm happy to report, let me go ahead and take our friend down for now. I can actually, I'm going to fix the microphone. So get ready to maybe change your volume. Okay. How did it go? Oops. I dropped my phone. I'm happy to report that this community has been tested and is victorious. 2 of the biggest tests that a community can face in any white sympathetic endeavor. Over the past 30 years, I've watched a great many organizations, ostensibly for, I say ostensibly now, because even though back then I believed many of them in their hearts were for the well-being of our people. Looking back now, I think that some of them, I was in error because some of, just as today, I looked around and I would say in these days, over these past years, I looked at groups, I looked at people, I looked at personalities, and I thought they are for white well-being, and they're just going about it in a clunky, irresponsible, destructive way. They're taking the inertia from the past. They are maybe serving their own self-interest for wealth, for fame, for sex, for whatever. And but I believe that some of them are not what they claim to be, as we can now see. So I've seen and I've talked with, as I told you all, I submitted myself to the wisdom of a great many elders. It goes all the way back even to Sam Francis. It's funny that these people, that these folks, they hold up as these great, like, this guy was a god, he knew everything. And I'm like, yeah, my office was beside his, and I hung out with him in his office and we talked, and I submitted myself to the wisdom of what they had seen over their lifetimes, and I endeavored to glean the valuable bits and to discard what was not valuable, harmful, because you could see the outcomes. And as a consequence, I know quite a lot about organizations and how they crumble and how sometimes they do really well because they have some sort of a central funding, which is what's happening right now. There seems to be an endeavor to magnify in this run-up to the 2024 election hatred of Jews. It may be that is meant to divide and frustrate a potential Trump electorate. Not saying for sure, but keep an eye on it. I think it is there's a big enough possibility that this is indeed the case that it warrants me mentioning it to you. One can imagine how frustrated a Trump campaign would be with every online event, every IRL event being met with a bunch of psychos shouting about Jews and wanting to bring negative attention to Jews and flying swastika flags and all of this sort of stuff. So it's appears to be coordinated and artificial. So keep your eye on that. I mention it because that is the force that came up against us. And it came from numerous directions, this community. And even though, I want you all to know this, even though it was targeting me primarily, and since I'm practically superhuman, just practically superhuman, I knew I would be able to take it and keep marching on. But I never forgot about you all and how there would be similar pressure applied to you. I saw, as I was over on that show that ended over in 2022, I saw how there used to be a pretty big number of people who would speak positively about me and the things that I was saying and the work that we're doing. I saw them come under attack as well. And by the end, and gross things said about them, horrific, that nobody would want to have said about themselves, even though wildly untrue. By the end, they were all silenced, afraid to say a single nice thing about me, afraid to mention me to anyone for fear of being attacked and slandered by these same people. And we had folks who couldn't stand the pressure in this community and peeled away. We had our separation, and we have stayed powerful. We have stayed imbued with meaning. We have stayed with an identity unsullied. And that's a testament to your commitment. That's a testament to the power of love. Because if you were here for angry feelings for another group of people, the hatred being directed at you by people whom you used to think were friends, and by newcomers, odd newcomers, who seem to be ubiquitous and sleepless, slandering you, would have easily driven you off, because hatred of another group of people is just not worth all that. You could go somewhere else to do that and not get slandered. So this is a testament to the power of love and the mission that I have and that you have by being associated here and in your service to white well-being. And so I applaud you all, and you all should applaud yourselves. The test, this test, is not over, but you have already crossed the highest hurdle, which was immediately at the point of the divorce from these people and immediately thereafter. It has returned. There's a bit of an uptick since Mark returned to Twitter. I have come under increased attack, and that means that you all will face some of the same. So the test continues for you. Are you going to be brave enough? Is your love going to be deep enough to be able to deal with these people, deal with them shunning you, and people, as I say, who used to be your friends or you thought were friends, and be able to persist in this great work of our age? And I believe that almost every single one of you will, as I think that we've shed those who were tepid. We've shed those who were weak characters, weak wills, weak constitutions. So this pruning process is making us a stronger community. And I will advise you all now, again, that when these kinds of folks show up, these explicit white sympathetic sphere, and not everybody who's explicit and white sympathetic is a problem at all, by no means, but it's a massive percentage of them who are fixators, we could call them, of jaywalkers, when they show up and they want to slander me and they want to slander you, if there's an opportunity to say something in return to them that can educate an audience, then make the statement. But otherwise, just ban and block them. I believe that many of these people are being paid to do this. It looks coordinated to intelligent people. And I've been speaking to a lot of old timers, people who still, their names, I'm not going to say, but they're known and respected, deeply respected, and they are seeing coordination. So be aware of that. Block them and move on. Ban them and move on. Keep focused on our brothers and sisters. Keep focused on wonderful non-white people like Charlie here. We need to reach these folks because this is where the battle is fought. I had a question from somebody on Twitter about, well, how do you propose? What's the next step? So you get people to say anti-white and anti-whitism. So what? What's the next step? That's disingenuous. It is ideas that animate people. The ideas animating them today in the positions they hold, positions of power, positions of weakness, positions of wealth, positions of poverty. The ideas animating them today are anti-white. It's anti-whitism. We have concepts that defeat and supplant anti-white and anti-whitism. For the intelligent, they can see that if you have concepts that can defeat and supplant anti-white and anti-whitism, then the idea that animates people in the places they are, positions of power, positions of weakness, positions of wealth, positions of poverty, will be the ideas of going free. By doing that, by having these contests in our daily lives with our bosses and our friends and the people at the dinner table, and we reach out into the world and with strangers and we give them love and we use these words, we use these concepts, we win the battles. And at the end of the day, the people who win the battles win the war. And that war is for control of our destiny, to put an end to the victimization of our people and the destruction of Western civilization. That's what you need to keep in mind when you have these conversations. There's no great conflict coming out in the future. The conflict is now. The conflict is everywhere in your life. You need to be as strong as you can be. And you need to be filled with the only thing that will give you courage in the moment. One of the things that I noticed about that thing that will give you courage in the moment, which is love, is that over the years when I was advocating for other groups, helping other groups out, that participants would get scared. They would be terrified about going out into public to various degrees, sharing literature, sharing what was on their mind. So much so that they would say things like, I can't tell these people because I'll immediately get fired. And I got this guy to agree, but he can't tell anybody that he works with because he'll be fired or his wife will divorce him. I was always able in those moments, all the way to the point of doing physical tests in the real world with leaflets, and police officers would drive by and slowly look at me and take notes of everything. I was able to get courage because I was there out of love. I knew what was empowering me and motivating me. When I was doing all of those tests across Virginia with leaflets, different slogans and things, different concepts, I wasn't getting any fame. I wasn't getting any financial gifts. All of it was always done with my own dollars. You'll have people today that want to say, Jason makes a living. Jason earns a living. And so therefore, nobody should financially gift him. Wanting to impoverish me. Folks want to financially gift me because they want to add their dollars to mine. Because of what we do. Because of who we are. Because of what we want in the end. That is the first of the great challenges that we faced at the end of 2022, and we're going into 2023 stronger than ever. having that confidence now, having shed those weaker supporters, advocates, however you want to look at it, having gotten away from the insidious, pernicious influence of people who had a different objective from our own, but claimed our objective as theirs, at least until you pinned them down. All along, they have been this burden, regrettably. These white brothers and sisters out there that have played the villain so long that they became the villain. Free of them, we're going to be able to do so much more. Don't be afraid of the implicit white sympathetic heroes in our countries, these patriots and nationalists. The vast majority of them agree with us. The vast majority of them want an end put to the victimization of our people. The vast majority want a world, a Western civilization, that'll be free and beautiful for everybody who lives in it for the rest of eternity. They just need to hear us repeatedly. They need to hear about yours truly. I'm not perfect. I'm totally imperfect. I'm totally flawed. But I'm a man of the West, and I've dedicated my life to this, and I'm striving always to do and to be better, and I will always put our people ahead of my own life, and I've proven that for all of you to see repeatedly. I have stepped up time and again to defend and protect you all, especially most recently with the split from the fixators. Because I told them, and I told Mark, that I would never advocate something as immoral as bringing ill will to another group of humanity. And I would never advocate something that would ruin the lives of our brothers and sisters that advocate such things. That doesn't benefit me unless you see it in a much bigger picture. That's for you. That's for us. You can make a difference in this world with the concepts that we teach, or you can ruin your life. You don't even have to purchase the book. Some people are advocates who haven't purchased the book. I recommend against that because you're going to be much more powerful if you get the book and you read through all of the books. But they come here and they listen to what I have to say, and then they take it out into the world. It's for you. It's for you that I stood up against the whole storm and force of their lies and their hatred and their enmity and their conspiracies and their slandering. It's for you when that leader of that Nazi group in the United States, I know they don't want to call it that, but that's what it is. When he showed up on that show and I said, are you going to be taking care of the members? Are you going to be making sure that they don't end up ruining their lives and spending their lives in jail? And that to him was the most baffling question he had ever been asked. You could read it all over his face. Never given a thought to it whatsoever. So I'm flawed, yeah. But with you all, you champions, we're the best you've got. We're the best you're going to find in this age. And Lord willing, that's going to be enough. Over the years, we've seen groups separate. We've seen divorces between coalitions. And things have always gone bad. Sometimes the groups limp on for a time, sort of like eidolons, shadows of their former selves. And then they dissipate and disappear. They don't come out stronger. We're looking stronger. And that is the segue to the second challenge that we faced at the end of 2022, which really was a challenge that was growing for us in this community over the course of that year, the whole course of that year. And that is the function of human beings of different personalities working together when there isn't a central source of finance and therefore authority and power. And that these individuals engaged in charity, you can see the same things at work even in the charity of United Way and different organizations of that sort, where personalities, maybe they got together and they worked together well at first, but then they begin to get on each other's nerves. And the fact that it's a charity, a donation of time, rather than a paying position, it gets easy to begin to find things that are wrong with those with whom they're working. Organizational structures, since before your great-grandparents, have been the exact same all the way down to the present until us. There's nothing like us. They have a top-down setup, centralized, that if not financed, held together by the force of a personality and or ideology, and they force edicts through. Over time, disagreements fester between different factions. And if there isn't a source of financial authority, which coincidentally has arrived in the nick of time for this election for several organizations, if there isn't such a source of power, these organizations fracture under disagreement. Sometimes it's over trivialities, minutia. Other times it's over bigger issues that nobody saw would be a problem in the creation of the group, but then later festers and becomes a wedge. There are, in service in the white sympathetic sphere, graveyards like mountains of organizations that were started and died. I personally helped, I can't even count the number of organizations that have existed and long since ceased to exist. And it's for various human dynamic reasons. People give up, people get tired, people get sick of each other, people have ideological differences. And so I knew that we had to create something that would be able to survive human nature without a central source of funding. By that, the central source of funding, you could understand this, maybe this way. If I were a multimillionaire, or I had a multimillionaire financing everything, then we can very easily set up a business like a Walmart. And we have a top-down centralized system. Everybody is obedient to that system and that authority instantiated by that wealth, or they go. If you don't have that, which we don't, and we can't count on because we can't be used to disrupt an election like other groups can, then you have to have another strategy. And for years, came back again and again to the subject of what kind of organization would survive human dynamism and human frailty, and would also survive the attacks by anti-whites, their lawsuits, their incrimination, their guilt by association, which is really divide and conquer. So we sat down with the intent to create something that could survive. And we resolved to work with a distributed network. And you don't have to know exactly what that means. But at its core, a distributed network with an organizational entity, what I refer to it as a floating organizational entity, that when confronted with the challenges of human dynamism, personality, and etc., differences of opinion, can undergo a process of mitosis, can separate and continue to work toward the agreed upon objective, in this case, white well-being. We, like every other group, had to and have to deal with and account for these human frailties. I can articulate from the very beginning of you meeting me that we're going to have people who participate in service to white well-being who are atheists, who are polytheists, who are monotheists, and that we will disagree on these points, but we must stay united on the principle of our biospirit. And we can, when we recapture incrementally our destiny, resolve differences equitably. And people can agree to that. And then over time, as the days wear on, the guard goes down, and they begin having conversations that are unwise to have. And they begin seeing the parts of their colleagues' attitudes or character or idiosyncrasies that they find very annoying, and ill will begins to grow. It happens with every group. And it happened with us as well. Interpretations are made about statements. Motives are inferred when not stated. Very often when people have challenges from others, they take harder positions than they would normally take when they're being more reasonable. And over the course of the previous year, there were things that were concluded that you may have heard about different participants in the community that were totally untrue, that were somewhat untrue, that were arrived at by way of faults on both sides, on one side, by accident, and the responsibility of no one. And we overcame. We have had disagreements that did not require me to enter the fray and order people to do the right thing by the force of my will, by my anger, by my threats and bluster, which has been employed in the white sympathetic sphere. It's employed everywhere, but in the white sympathetic sphere, organization after organization, the leader, or essentially what is the strong arm guy, would show up. I could give you names. And they would demand, and they would say, you're going to do this. You're going to do that. You're going to put up with this. And for a time, people would be intimidated into it. But it never lasts. It's not something that's lasting. Additionally, as I previously noted, I'm not able to show up and say, don't forget that Mr. Moneybags, the multimillionaire, is funding me, and I'm going to, if you are not in my good graces and getting along, then you're no longer be able to be a part of what Mr. Moneybags is doing. Instead, we underwent a process of mitosis with a couple of groups. Now we have a new outreach team, and we have another new chat. And this is what, and the way it should be. Nothing wrong with any outreach team or any chat. They're doing fantastically. They're doing the work that needs to be done. If there was anything wrong, if any of the negative things that were said or claimed to be said about this person or that group or whatever, if any of that I determined were true, I would simply stop recognizing the group. I wouldn't recognize a GFC if it were acting in a way that wasn't in accordance with going free. I wouldn't recognize a chat if that were the case. So the things, the groups that I recognize have my faith and confidence, and they will continue to be recognized. and I will continue to believe them to be good folks doing good work unless or until they change course. So, confronted with an organizational challenge in the midst of the challenge of being targeted by the zealous haters of Jewish people, we were able to prove the concept that a distributed network that undergoes a process of mitosis, that practices situational leadership, is able to persist. That is an earth-shaking accomplishment that we should be infinitely proud of, and we should tout to the heavens. And I promise you this, any anti-white victimizers that are observing, and rest assured you know they are, how we are able to undergo differences of opinion and antagonisms that get created and equitably split and persist in the same direction for the same goal, are very concerned about that because it's not been done before. And it won't be done by any other centralized or even decentralized group. It's just not possible. They haven't been able to have the vision to see it or figure out how to make it work. Fortunately for me, I was able to figure out how to make it work. And then, by the kind of person I am and the high level that we bring of intelligence and education, forethought, courage, patience to the work that we're doing, have been able to attract the best, even when the best don't always agree. And they have been able to demonstrate by their own behaviors that they can step into these roles, situationally take leadership, and abide by this process of cell division, mitosis, and continue with the objective of white well-being. Two enormous accomplishments that we must recognize as we move in to 2023 victorious. And this last thing, we're going to face the continuation of human dynamism, people who get along today swimmingly, that won't get along swimmingly 6 months from now or 10 months from now, whatever it is. And they will be able to behave in the way that we did here, with a history of success. What I've done to help facilitate that, now that we have moved into this phase 3 at the end of 2022, is I have created a specific channel of communication for the leaders of the different chats, outreach teams, and going free clubs. And I don't think I have everybody connected with everybody yet, but I will be. And this will enable these leaders, men and women of the highest caliber, flawed nonetheless though, as I am, to reach out to me directly when there is any sort of issue, whether it's this or something else, and I will be able to help them to a successful resolution of the issue. So we will have more divisions. We will continue to populate GFCs with the best people there are in the West. You all have my full confidence. And I know that we will succeed as a group. If we continue to be charity, so be it. If we find financiers, so be it. But I know that we're going to succeed. I'm proud of y'all. And these two challenges, overcoming that, these challenges that have been put before us, that's the evidence that we have the stamina to go the distance. Let me see what you all are saying. And then I'll be wrapping it up because it's 10:15 p.m. Eastern Time in the once great state of Virginia. And I got to get back to work on editing the current segment I'm working on and Go Free so that we can make it available. And just think about how many people will be able to get the audiobook, which I'm going to make immensely affordable. Just think about how many people will be able to get the audiobook and listen to it that otherwise would never have learned a thing about going free. They'll be able to listen to it while they're at work, going to and from work, on the subway, on the train, in the carpool, on the plane. Think about how rapidly the change will be able to happen then. We'll be able to take segments of it and share it on videos, share it in clips like the great No White Guilt Clips does. It's going to be fantastic. If you would like to start a GFC, you can get the help of Mr. V, and his link is below. But you don't have to work with Mr. V, as great a guy as he is, to help out GFCs, to help out people who want to get started, and to coordinate events with GFCs. As great a guy as he wants to help, he's willing to help, he's there to help. You don't have to work with him. You can reach out, though, and we'll make sure you get started and make sure that you are on the right path. GFCs should be focused on going free. They can come together on the basis of a polytheistic belief or a monotheistic belief or bowling or camping or mathematics. But GFCs are meant to exercise the lexicon, to train you in the lexicon, to make you a better person by freeing you of the meme pathogens with which you are infected. And you're able to do it in environments that you already enjoy. Like you already enjoy making dresses. And maybe there'll be a GFC one of these days where people can get together, where they already enjoy the hobby of making dresses, so they can have get-togethers where they talk about that, along with their get-togethers to talk about going free. One thing that I want to add is that I endorse the promulgation of the lexicon in and of itself. It is a powerful thing to seed, and I am most proud of the champions who have gotten out into live chats and into threads or leaflet dropping, where it just shows lexicon. It just shows the concepts that we use so that people can pick up those lexicon, those words, those concepts from our lexicon and be empowered thereby to make the ground, if you will, more amenable for our revolution of love against anti-whitism. Having said that, there is a natural and persistent challenge of people having to leave their participation. Attrition. If you are not bringing new people in, you will eventually be reduced to naught. We need to bring people to going free. People die. We had a woman, Annette Kennelly, who was taking up the Go Free practice in South Africa when she was murdered. We have people die, overdose on drugs, die of cancer. We have people who have things going on in their lives that they have to take care of, and they can't give any more time, and they have to depart. Attrition. We need to be bringing people in, or we will end up with no one. So I do deeply appreciate the efforts and the continued efforts to seed concepts, our concepts, without a mention of yours truly, without a mention of Go Free or this channel, Having said that, we need to bring more people in. Regrettably, the vast majority of our brothers and sisters are unable to review an ideology on their own to determine value. So they look for a shortcut. And that shortcut is what we referred to in the past as asses in the seats. How many people agree? Because if a bunch agree, then they will agree. The more people we bring in, the more we will be able to bring in. And when they come, be patient with them. We want to get them to the point where they use all of the lexicon, but they're not going to be there at first. We don't browbeat them. We take them by the hand. I know you say it this way, but I say it this way because here are the reasons it works better. And then if that person persists for a week or a month or 6 months, maybe they'll never change. Maybe they're a comet that's coming in for a close look and they're going to keep moving. So be it. Maybe they'll leave with a couple of the concepts and then go spread those in their lives. But there'll be others who will want to be smart, who will want to be powerful, and they'll readily listen to you, and you'll know who they are because they'll ask for more. That's how you know. So we're going to be kind to the folks that we bring in. We're going to help them. We're going to hold them by the hand. And we're going to remind each other if somebody starts getting impatient, as I am wont to do at times. We're going to remind them, hey, this person is where they are. We're trying to get them along. Have a little bit more patience. We'll see what ends up happening. The final thing is that there should be no concern about me and tyrannical leadership. That is a sort of a preposterous thing to even speculate about, especially with a distributed network. I've demonstrated from the beginning that that's the opposite of what I want. Yeah, I might tell a joke, and I will tell more about bringing God, president, king, emperor for life, or whatever it is, and my afterlives. But I've demonstrated the kind of person I am. Nick Fuentes, Dirty Fuentes, is a great example, and there are many others, who has followers, and we have champions, not followers, but who has followers that tell the world he's unimpeachable, he's excellent, he's great, you've got to follow him. And there are people who will do that. Not because they're bad people, but because they don't know how to evaluate an ideology. Because of that adoration for him, more and more people show up. The same thing happens across all other groups. More and more people show up because of that adoration, because of what he's pitching, because of who he is. So if your mentality is that this is all about the concepts, we don't need to or want to mention Jason, then we're going to end up with the problem of attrition and dwindling numbers. It's just a fact of human nature. I'd rather not have it that way, but we don't get that option. We have to deal with the cards that were dealt. And these cards contain the human animal. If you don't believe it has a soul, fine. But if you do, then we're certainly in an animal body. That we have to deal with. So let's pull together. I know there are differences of marketing as well and approaches to marketing. Now people will be on their own to demonstrate the success or lack thereof for their tactics. And I endorse all of the players. Looking forward to a miraculous 2023. Let me see what you all are saying. I think this was a great conversation. I really like this Charlie guy, and I'm really hoping we can defend him and protect him. Okay, looks like Northern Dawn saying, thanks, Jason. Northern Dawn, let's get out the raucous emojis over there on Odyssey. Northern Dawn financially gifting 25 white well-being dollars. 25 white well-being dollars. God bless you, sir. He says, thanks, Jason, with it. That's it. He also says with the $25, the Go Free method works. It's life-changing. God bless you. Thank you for that. And asking, finally, can I join an outreach team? Yes, you can. In fact, you can look into the description right below this video, and you will see some contact information there. Reach right out and become one of our very best. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much for the financial gift. And I know you're going to do many, many millions of times good of your financial gift with your efforts and the genius that will be unlocked as you begin to treat yourself for these poisonous anti-white concepts that we call meme pathogens. Let me swivel around here. I want to thank everybody. The folks who stayed to hear me speak about this are obviously the best that there is in the white positive sphere. So count yourselves among that number. And the best in the white positive sphere are better than the best in the general white sympathetic sphere. And those folks are better than the general population of our countries. So you can feel satisfied about where you find yourself. Northern Dawn over here saying, God bless you. Franklin, telling the truth very simply, straightly, as it can be said, we are the coolest. Damn right we are. Nick says, we're the best. Nitro says, thank you with a flexing arm. 07 to all says, Nikia. All right. Caleb says, I've got no white guilt everywhere I go. Well, you're going to have a new shirt to have no white guilt everywhere you go. As soon as I have it, brother, I'll ship it off to you. Mafeels says, I wanted to apologize to you for being abrasive in the past. It was unnecessary, bro. And I happen to agree with you for the most part. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you for that. It takes a lot of courage to be an adult, especially nowadays, and to apologize. Most people don't realize that when you're actually wrong, and you can admit to it, no one can take advantage of you. There's this fear that in people that when you're actually wrong, that folks will take advantage of you. Being able to apologize for where you were actually wrong enables you to improve, and that awareness prevents you from being taken advantage of by others. You'll be able to say and see, you're taking advantage of me here and I can see it. Why are you doing it? And then you'll be able to find out quickly whether or not you want to remain in association with such a person. But it's a very powerful thing and a very mature thing. And thank you very much, Mafeels, for that. All right, let me see. The great Anders is here with us. Great to see you, brother. Promethean Promulgation is here. Wonderful to see you. Cascadia, welcome and great to see you. Sherry is here. Hello and welcome. She says, I'm very glad I found this channel. Keep it up, Jason. I will. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Dieter, is that what it is? Hello and welcome. K-Max asking about Jared Taylor, if he's good. What exactly do you mean if he's good? Sherry says, I'm always putting no white guilt in YouTube live chats. That's fantastic. God bless you for that. And don't be afraid. You know, when you see these people who advocate for Dirty Fuentes or any of the others. They name Fuentes. You know, don't be afraid to name me. There's no chance that I'm going to become, what's the word? Conceited or tyrannical, or it's just not possible. It's not in my nature. Thank you very much. What a champ she is. Stay the course, says Lance. Awesome. I love you, man. Thank you. All right, let's see. Heidi says, wow, what an amazing speech. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Heidi is good people. Her and her man and her family, good people. Wonderful to have you here with us tonight, sister. From Lowell pointing out that Jordan Peterson is anti-white. That he is. Hyperborean Jim says, Jason is awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Montana's kid said, I want Jason to make a ton of money with his books. I appreciate it. If I had a ton of money, the kind of things that we would be doing, I've been spending my own money to the point of impoverishing myself for white well-being. So could you imagine? All right. Let me see if there's anybody. Northern Dawn. Yes, I did, sir. Thank you very much. Art Acrobats says we don't even get child support after the divorce. No, I'm afraid not, my friend. And just as an aside, I do want to say for the people who are, you know, in the white sympathetic sphere and who are trapped in this villain role, that my sincerest hope is that they will come away from that. And I'm here for them. We all are here for them. Their lives are getting ruined and will be ruined and will get worse. And I want them to be robust, strong, educated, intelligent. I want them to have great families and have a great base on which to advocate for white well-being. That's what I want for them. I don't ever have to even know their names. I don't ever have to know who they are. That's what I want for them, because when you love our people, like Aussie Mike loves our people, when you love our people, when you see one of these videos where where a white person is getting jumped by a bunch of anti-whites beating them up, and your first thought is, oh my God, that white person, what are they going through? How bad are their injuries? That's when you're loving. There's all the time in the world to make personal choices about where you're going to live based on populations and where you're going to send your kids based on populations and calculations based on statistics. There's all the time in the world for that. But you know something is fundamentally not right that you got to work on if your first thought is for the victimizer. And that's where these people are stuck. And some folks can't be helped. And you just have to let them regrettably go about ruining themselves and our people with their activity. But others that are open to it, then we're there for them. It's like the church, you know, the doors are open. We're here for you. The church saves souls, we redeem destinies. K-Max says, I meant that you and Jared Taylor are good. Oh, yeah, cool. Yeah, we are. I probably will. I'm sure I'll see him sometime over the next 6 or so months. We don't see each other like back in the day. But, yeah, I'm fine with him. Spike, good to see you. Spike likes Jared. Heidi again saying thank you so much. I appreciate that so much. You are amazing. I appreciate that. Thank Cool Papa J Magic is here. Great to see you, brother. I appreciate that very much, Heidi. Thank you. All right, I think that's it. Northern Dawn saying God bless you. God bless you as well. Montana Cat, Jason for King. Yes. Yes, let's do that. All right. I guess that's about it. Today's Tuesday. We're coming to the end of it. It's the beginning of 2023, the Roaring 20s. It's the 17th. It's the 17th. And there are a lot of days left in this year where we're going to make a lot of noise, and we're going to have a lot of, we'll do some in-person things. Some folks were asking me about in-person activity, IRL activity. Please try to set people straight when it comes to this. There's this very bizarre notion that any IRL activity is good activity, and that's simply not the case. We were only IRL forever, and the people who are saying only IRL is real and only IRL is good, those are the same people who are using the same failed strategies and vehicles from the past and hoping to get a different outcome in a worse environment. I mean, that doesn't take a lot of brains to figure that out, right? That is not going to work. Think about it this way. What has mass communication, the printing press, what did that do for changing the minds of people? It gave ultimate power to the ability to change people's minds. So we do go out into public. We do leaflet. We do speak with people who hold office and people who are running for office. And we are going to be doing more of that sort of thing. But it's not to the, and should never be to the detriment of communicating, changing people's ideas online. Because like I said, it's the idea that animates the person. And you animate them where they are, and we recapture our destiny. That's how that works. If you were to stand on a roadside, like out on Route 66 here in Northern Virginia, well, a lot of people are going to drive by. They might be able to read your sign. If that's all you did in your life, then you're not going to be able to reach as many people as you would online. So if you do a little bit of both, much more of the online, a little bit of the IRL, then you're hitting that sweet spot. And if you're leafleting, as the great Franklin does, wallpapering Virginia, with concepts and our website and things that actually empower people, even if they never find out anything more about us than the leaflet, than the poster, then you're doing a great work. But this idea that if you're not getting out with a bullhorn on a street corner, or you're not, or in front of a immigration office or something like this, then you're not doing anything, is preposterous. They want you doing the least productive thing. You can equate it to the printing press being produced and saying, you mean you're not going to go and knock on every door? You're just going to drop this paper with words on it? You're not going to knock on every single door and talk to every single person? Well, you're not doing anything. If you're just passing out this literature, you won't accomplish a thing. Oh, really? Okay. So you can see the difference between the antiquated and the advanced. And if you're going to be doing like the great Irish Christ does, this, what he calls the traffic capture advocacy, make sure your signs are designed for the speed the cars are traveling. So the letters have to be big enough, there have to be few enough words so that they can see. So don't, like 66 would not be a good place. The cars are going too fast. You'd have to have a colossal sign. But really, the going out into public, the IRL stuff that these groups will do, and they say, oh, this is the only thing that has substance, is to insult people, is to anger people. They'll put words and they'll put slogans or symbols out there to anger people. And then they say, that's doing something. We've really pissed off a bunch of people. And by pissing people off and making them hate advocacy for Western kind, we are moving the Overton window, because you move the Overton window simply by saying things that people find reprehensible. No, you don't. That is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. When you say things that the population has been taught to believe are the purest evil that can be said, and is representative of a whole host of beliefs, you instantiate, you make real their fiction that they're living in. You don't move the Overton window. Honestly, why have you ever listened to anybody else? This is the equivalent. When you listen to these people and you say, well, you got to say these things, and then you move the Overton window. How many times do you think you could say that sex with children is good before you moved the Overton window? Now, I'm not talking about the establishment doing it, where they can do it from every media organ. They can do it at the universities. They can do it in every sitcom. They'll slowly insert characters that have these attractions, just like they've done with other things, incrementally. You don't have that option. So how many times do you think that if the establishment wasn't pushing sex with children, that you could push sex with children by standing out with over a overpass, over a highway, with a sign that advocates sex with children? You would merely make real, concretize what people already know. They would see you as a monster, and they would happily have you put away. They would look away when the law is bent and broken to punish you. So these things are said by folks that present themselves as some sort of like intellectual leader and physical leader of our people, and they are the most destructive things that people can do. There isn't enough symbol or symbology that you could put into the public that's going to change their mood about Nazi Germany, for God's sake. I mean, come on. Turn away from these people, and you can take what I've shared with you, take it right to them. It's like the printing press, dummy. It's like it's like trying to normalize pedophilia by just saying that pedophilia is and then you list positive things or something. Good luck. Stop hurting our people, whoever these folks are. I want you all to be champions. I want you all to win. And we are. We're making great gains. We're crossing big territory. I know it doesn't see it. Remember what I told you before we hit 2020. Does anybody remember? And we'll end on this as I do a quick check. We'll end on this. Make sure I didn't miss anybody. What did I tell you before it actually ticked over to 2020? I said this coming decade is going to be one. And am I right again? This coming decade is going to be one where the power of the anti-whites is going to be growing exponentially. Their ability to victimize us and their willingness to victimize us will grow. Simultaneously, our strength will grow. But how far we grow, how much we grow is dependent upon our actions here. Do not look to a diminution in the power of anti-whites and their ability to inflict injury on us as evidence that we are gaining power, that we are changing minds. You won't see it there. It's not going to happen there yet. This decade is the big contest. If we push back enough during the 2020s, if we gain enough power, if we influence enough minds, if we get enough people using the concepts, the following decade won't be the last one for us, ultimately. The following decade will be people in their positions of power, wherever they reside, without us having to march in with fanciful, fictitious, ghost-populated armies and forcing people to do things that we want. It'll be people in positions of power, cops and senators and trashmen and doctors who have all said enough is enough, and they'll be doing it with a moral imperative that'll take us here to the reach of our destiny. God bless you all. I love you. Let's go free.